Chapter 145. Feeling the unfriendly stare, Song Yifan looked at the corner. Instantly their eyes met. His warm and deep eyes seemed to have collided with an extremely cold glacier. For a moment, their gazes were intertwined. Song Yifan clearly saw the warning and displeasure in the cold man's eyes and was a bit surprised. If he remembered correctly, this young man should be Li Xiqing, the new upstart in the business world in Kingstown. Seeing the unfriendly stare from Li Xiqing, Su Qianxi felt a bit uneasy. How could she forget that Li Xiqing was still here? However, what should she do now? He did not seem very happy. Should she give up the opportunity to be intimate with her idol? No way. This was the only time in her 2 lifetimes. Besides, she had never been very lucky. If she missed this chance, would she ever have another chance? No, not again. Gritting her teeth, facing Li Xiqing's cold stare, she turned around and turned her back to him. Seeing this, Li Xiqing's eyes became darker and darker. This woman was getting bolder and bolder. Seeing this, Song Yifan knew that they must know each other, so he nodded at Li Xiqing with a friendly smile. However, in Li Xiqing's eyes, Song Yifan's smile was completely different. Was this old man provoking him? Turning his eyes, he looked at Xing Shiming, who was standing not far away from Song Yifan. It seemed that these 2 old men wanted to work together to steal his wife. Coincidence? Lucky client? Su Qianxi had been picked out from such a corner. It would be an accident. However, Li Xiqing really could not figure out what attracted them to Su Qianxi. "Miss Su, do you know how to play Qi Xian?" Song Yifan's voice was deep and husky, unique to a mature man. Hearing it, Su Qianxi felt like she was going to melt. She nodded again and again. Su Qianxi wanted to say something, but found herself too nervous and excited to say a word. Song Yifan's eyes softened when he looked at her. She was really very similar to her. No wonder Xing Shiming would have such a reaction. "Then shall we begin?" The audience was full of jealousy, wishing they could replace Su Qianxi and become the one to play with their idol. She nodded, and after he sat down, she sat next to him. Qi Xian was the song that made Song Yifan famous. This piece amazed the entire piano association. It was also this song that made Song Yifan famous and honored. The familiar music sounded, and everyone quieted down, quietly listening to this rare live performance. Song Yifan went from alto bass, and Su Qianxi naturally went from alto treble. The first half was a bit low. After Song Yifan finished, Su Qianxi's fingers fell on a white key. Wrong. As soon as she pressed it, someone immediately shouted, "Does that woman know how to play Qi Xian? That is not the sound." These words were echoed by many girls who were already feeling unbalanced. Don't force yourself if you don't know. You're embarrassing yourself. That's right. Sai, if I go up, there will definitely be no problem. Song Yifan frowned and turned to look at Su Qianxi. It seemed that Su Qianxi did not hear the voices around her at all, focusing on the keys. Her fingers were long and slender. She was born to play the piano. The sound of the piano gradually became louder. The sad and loving music filled the restaurant and seeped into everyone's ears. Those who had just ridiculed Su Qianxi gradually became silent. Song Yifan was the most touched. He gradually stopped playing and looked at the girl he had met for the first time. Su Qianxi seemed to have entered a place where no one was around. Her side profile was as tranquil as a painting. Although she did not have any makeup on, she was more stunning than any makeup. One glance was enough to take one's soul. The person in front of him and the face in his memory merged into one. Song Yifan's eyes, which had been calm before, were suddenly filled with glints. Chapter 146. As the sound of the zither faded, the entire hall was filled with thunderous applause. As for Song Yifan, after the first part, he did not play anymore. It was almost Su Qianxi's show. Who is this? She played so well. I have never heard of her, but she is so pretty. So pretty? I heard that Song Yifan is not married yet. They look quite good together. Song Yifan is obviously much older than her. Besides, he came with a boyfriend. Look over there. Hearing that, many people looked at the place where Su Qianxi had been sitting. Wow, so handsome. Isn't that Li Xiqing? Li Xiqing. No way, it's really Li Xiqing. Oh my god, what kind of luck do I have today? I can't believe I saw so many VIPs. Wait, is that girl Li Xiqing's girlfriend? Don't tell me the truth. I want some time alone. Don't ask me who she is. But isn't Li Xiqing married? Hearing the discussion around her, Su Qianxi felt like she was being looked at like a monkey. Blushing, she quickly stood up. Song Yifan also stood up at the same time. Almost at the same time, they bowed to each other. Husband and wife. Someone with a cheap mouth shouted, causing the surrounding people to roar with laughter. Su Qianxi's heart raced, but she did not feel offended by the teasing. After all, he was her idol. Looking at Song Yifan, Su Qianxi looked up with her eyes sparkling. She summoned up her courage and said, "Mr. Song, can I take a picture with you?" "My pleasure." Song Yifan's words made many girls scream again. "I'm going to faint. Song Yifan is so gentlemanly and mature. I want to be his fan." Mature men are indeed the most attractive. However, when Su Qianxi picked up her phone and turned on the camera, a big hand blocked her phone and snatched it away. Su Qianxi was startled. Turning around, she saw a handsome face that was obviously displeased and gloomy. Her heart skipped a beat, and the impulse to get angry immediately softened. He. When did he get up there? She actually did not notice anything at all. But under such circumstances he was a little anxious. He stretched out his hand wanting to snatch it back. "Give me back my phone." Li Xiqing's face became colder. Putting the phone behind him, he took the opportunity to hold her in his arms. All she could see was her phone. Standing on her tiptoes, she reached behind him. "Give it back to me. Why did you take my phone? You're not allowed to take pictures." The cold voice was filled with displeasure. "I won't allow it." His voice was extremely low and cold. Su Qianxi was a bit angry. "What? That's my phone and I'm not taking pictures with you. Why can't you let me?" It was precisely because it wasn't with him that he wouldn't allow it. Even Li Xiqing was shocked by the idea. However, when Su Qianxi stood with Song Yifan, he felt uncomfortable. Ignoring her protest, the arm around her waist tightened and said firmly, "Go home." It was also because of this that Su Qianxi realized how intimate they were at this moment. Under everyone's gaze, her whole body was almost pressed against him. As she moved, she could clearly feel the warmth of his body. Looking around, she found that almost everyone was looking at her. Blushing, Su Qianxi quickly lowered her head. Chapter 147. Hearing the exclamations around her, Su Qianxi lowered her head, wishing she could find a hole to hide in. Pushing him, she whispered, "Let go of me." Li Xiqing looked down and could see her pink ears. Cute." He raised his hand and covered her ears. Under Su Qianxi's shocked gaze, he looked at Song Yifan. "I've heard a lot about you, but we should go." Seeing the obvious displeasure in Li Xiqing's eyes, Song Yifan smiled warmly. Nodding, Song Yifan reached into his pocket and took out a card. "This is my business card. Miss Su, we can keep in touch." Song Yifan's business card. "Oh my god. Damn, I'm so lucky. Why didn't he pick me?" The audience was excited and Su Qianxi was jumping for joy. Keep in touch? Her idol had given her his business card and asked her to keep in touch with him. Since she came back to life, it was the first time that Su Qianxi had been so happy and lucky. Excitedly slapping his hand away, she turned around and held the small card in her hand. On the card there was only a name, a number, and an email address. There was no title, but it was completely Song Yifan's style. Su Qianxi couldn't help but think of a saying, "Being low-key is the best way to show off." "Can we go home now?" Li Xiqing's gloomy voice came to Su Qianxi's mind. She nodded and looked at Song Yifan. "I'll go." "Yes, is this your boyfriend?" Song Yifan asked. Su Qianxi blinked. Boyfriend? To her, these three words were too far away from her. She had never had a boyfriend before. Shaking her head, Su Qianxi smiled. However, before she came back to herself, she felt a chill behind her. Looking back, she saw Li Xiqing's cold eyes. Feeling cold, Su Qianxi said sensibly, "Let's go home." Getting off the stage and walking out of the restaurant under everyone's gaze, Su Qianxi held the business card tightly in her hand. Her heart was full of excitement. Today she had not only solved Tang Mingqing's problem, but also met Song Yifan and got the business card of her idol. Su Qianxi felt that she was so lucky. Staring at the business card, she followed him closely. However, in a moment of inattention, the man in front of her suddenly stopped. Su Qianxi was caught off guard and bumped into his strong back. Her nose was sore. With a pained expression, she covered her nose and looked at him with teary eyes. "It hurts?" He looked back, but his eyes fell on the business card in her hand. Soon he looked away. "Is it that nice?" Su Qianxi blinked and smiled. "You look good." Seeing their idol's name card was like seeing their idol in person. How could it not look good? Li Xiqing's eyes darkened as he reached out and took the card from her hand. "Let me have a look." The card was suddenly taken away. She was shocked and reached out to grab it. However, she did not know if Li Xiqing's fingers had been touched by her, or he had deliberately loosened his grip. The card instantly fell from his fingers. It was a sunny and windless day in Connecticut. The business card fell vertically. Under Su Qianxi's nervous gaze, it went into the gap of the drain not far from their feet. Chapter 148. Ah, business card. She screamed and immediately took a step back, squatting down. In front of her was a dark ditch, water was flowing, and there was a constant stench. The smile on her face suddenly disappeared. She looked up and roared, "Why did you take my business card? Besides, the road was so wide and spacious. Why did he stop in front of the ditch?" Not only did he stop, but he also took the business card at this time and, accidentally, dropped it. Could it be that he did it on purpose? However, Li Xiqing would not do such a stupid thing, would he? Li Xiqing glanced at her, and a trace of meaning flashed in his eyes. Was this woman throwing a tantrum at him? Oh. It seemed that not only was she getting bolder, but her temper was also getting worse. He reached out and picked up the girl squatting on the ground. He said casually, "It's just a business card. I have one too." Then he took out a business card and handed it over. However, the name on it was Li Xiqing. The business card was exquisite and elegant, with a black card and silver lettering. However, when she saw the black business card in front of her, she felt aggrieved. Stomping her feet, she turned around and left. Seeing that she ignored him and left, Li Xiqing's eyes darkened. "Where are you going?" "Home. The car is in the back. I'll go back myself." Li Xiqing raised an eyebrow in surprise. Was she throwing a tantrum? He had thought that she would not throw a tantrum. She looked exactly the same as she did on the first 2 days of their marriage. However, she was much better than before. When he was about to go up, his phone rang. It was Luo Zhan, one of his few good friends. Li Xiqing put the phone to his ear and did not make a sound. "Young Master Li, how much time did you give me?" "Amnesia? No sense of humor at all. Did you find it?" "Of course, but you have to be mentally prepared." Li Xiqing vaguely had a bad feeling. Was there really something wrong with Su Qianxi's background? Su Qianxi, right? Although her last name is Su, she grew up in an orphanage. "Tell me something I don't know," Li Xiqing interrupted. Luo Zhan said. "This is called foreshadowing." "Foreshadowing, understand? This is the same logic as when you go to bed. Without foreplay, how can there be a climax? Don't you think so? Speak human language. Why are you in such a hurry? You will become a 3-second man if you are anxious." Luo Zhan laughed. Driving Li Xiqing crazy was his greatest pleasure. Li Xiqing suppressed the urge to hang up and gritted his teeth in silence. Luo Zhan sensed the sense of crisis and immediately became serious. He coughed lightly and said, "Back then Su Han, the daughter of the Su family, disappeared mysteriously at the age of 17. According to the investigation, she should have been sold to the deep mountains in the countryside and had a child." Li Xiqing narrowed his eyes. "You mean, it's very likely that your wife is the child that was born from that ****. Chapter 149. I haven't called the 10 million yet. Luo Zhan shivered and immediately sat up straight, yelling, "Damn, you are so disloyal. I have checked for you and you still haven't called." Su Qianxi's figure was already far away. Li Xiqing glanced at the small white bag in his hand and did not want to chase after her. He slowly walked to his car, opened the door and sat back. "If you keep me guessing, I will ask my assistant to bring it back." When Luo Zhan heard this, he immediately smiled flatteringly. In fact, it was nothing. Later the family moved to the city. Su Han pretended to go grocery shopping, so she was able to escape with her daughter. She wrote a letter about her family background and left it at the door of the orphanage with her daughter's name. She wrote about the Su family? Yes, the general content said that she was the daughter of the Su family. If she was sent back, she would get a lot of money. The director of the orphanage believed it and was overjoyed. As a result, he sent the baby to the Su family, but the Su family did not recognize the child as their sister's daughter at all. They even said that if they continued to pester them, they would call the police. So, the child grew up in the orphanage. You don't know these things, right? Yes. He really did not know there was such a layer. He did not expect the Su family to be so heartless that they did not even recognize their sister's child. Didn't your old man go on a mission when he was about to retire? About 18 years ago, a woman named Su Han saved his life and helped him eat a bullet. Your old man was so touched that he cried bitterly and said that he would agree to any of her conditions. That woman proposed that her daughter must marry his most outstanding grandson. You know this, but I'm curious. Why was the Su family willing to recognize that niece later? You don't know the grandpa's means? Li Xiqing took out a cigarette and slowly lit it. He did not smoke it but just watched it burn. With the old man in the middle, how dare the Su family not recognize them? However, I also found out something else. Say it. Su Qinxi and Su Jinghua are not related at all. Su Qinxi walked quickly and suddenly found that her white bag had disappeared. She didn't know when it had happened. Right now she was penniless. It would take more than half an hour to drive back to the wealthy area of the villa. It was impossible to walk back. More importantly, she had no sense of direction. Su Qinxi was about to go crazy. It was the first time she had felt so annoyed and angry since her rebirth. Was she going to walk back like this? That pair of legs must be broken. Moreover, the phone was in his hand. It was truly a case of no response from the heavens and earth. Walk back to the hot pot restaurant to look for him? She had been walking for more than 10 minutes. If she turned back now, he might have already left. Moreover, she had left on her own just now. Forget it, maybe Uncle Sheng is still at the hot pot restaurant. I'll just take it one step at a time. Walking back the way he came, he found that the low-key but luxurious black Maybach was still parked there. The moment she appeared at the corner of the street, Li Xiqing also looked over. Seeing his cold eyes, her heart suddenly raced. Could it be that he was waiting for her? But when she saw the phone in his hand, she understood. This guy was making a phone call. Angrily walking up, she opened the passenger seat door and got in. Su Qinxi's eyes were full of Li Xiqing's car, and she did not notice that two young girls were looking at her in front of her. Hey, isn't that our campus belle? Damn, where's the concussion? Where's the discomfort? Wait, look, she's coming over and getting in the car. That's a Maybach. It's worth at least 10 million. Hurry, get it. Chapter 150. Su Qinxi did not notice that she was being photographed. After sitting in the car, she saw her cell phone and purse on the seat. She picked them up and found that everything was still there. She was about to open the door and get out. Li Xiqing reached out and held her down. Spitting out a mouthful of white smoke, he said in a low voice, "What are you doing?" "Going home," she said matter-of-factly. Li Xiqing heard that and narrowed his eyes. A vague sense of danger slowly spread in the car. "Are you mad at me?" Su Qinxi was dazed and suddenly felt a bit scared. She seemed to be mad at him, but how could that be? How could she be mad at him? Li Xiqing had said that he liked gentle and sensible women, so she had always been gentle and sensible, hadn't she? But thinking of what she had just done, Su Qinxi felt a bit annoyed. How could she return to the way she used to be? Li Xiqing hated her the most, didn't he? Wait, why did she care about that? She was going to divorce him, wasn't she? It seemed that there was no need to please him anymore, right? She looked up and saw Li Xiqing's ambiguous expression. She slightly lowered her head and did not speak. What should she do? She still did not want him to hate her. That would be enough, right? Seeing Su Qinxi's obvious cowardice, Li Xiqing frowned and felt inexplicably annoyed. This woman was really not cute at all. She could be mad at him. It was not like he was not allowed. He felt that it was boring for her to deliberately soften and please him. He had seen too many women like this. Seat belt. Li Xiqing's voice was a bit impatient. Okay. She obediently put on the seat belt and became much more obedient. When she got home, she turned on the computer and received a document from Louis Han as expected. She opened it and checked it before replying. After dealing with business, she stretched and inadvertently looked at the main panel. In a group of students, there was a gray profile picture that had never been lit up. Even the name was very simple, L. Opening the chat window, her slender fingers quickly sent over 2 words, "Are you there?" However, there was no response. The next day she went back to school. However, she did not know whether it was an illusion or not, but she felt that the gazes of the people around her today were strange. Carrying her backpack, she found a seat and sat down. At that moment she felt that more people were looking at her, and they were all strange. The first class was an introduction to financial engineering. The teacher was a female professor who was known as Abbess Miju. She was already in her 40s, but she still liked to wear a fashionable pink miniskirt and energetic white platform shoes. Coupled with her wrinkled makeup, she became a big attraction in the finance department. The scenery arrived as expected. As soon as he entered, he saw that everyone's eyes were focused in one direction. Su Qinxi. Here. Su Qinxi was confused by the name, but she quickly stood up. Have you recovered? Oh, much better. Thank you for your concern, Professor. In the future, if you ask for leave on your own, it will only make your classmates think that there is something wrong with your style. What do you mean? There was a problem with her style. Why was there a problem with her style? A female classmate looked over and whispered, "You don't know? Everything about you is going viral on the school forum." Then she took out her phone and pushed it in front of her. Chapter 151. Su Qianxi knew it was a clickbait. However, Su Qianxi still couldn't help clicking on it. If she guessed right, the cold campus bell was referring to her. Miju Shirtai glanced at her and snorted coldly. Sit down. Just don't bring your bad habits from your daily life to school and affect other students. A bad habit in daily life? That had a lot of meaning. Su Qianxi looked at Miju coldly and asked, "What do you mean by that?" Before Miju Nun said anything, some boys around her spoke up. Stop pretending. You know what the teacher means. Instead of learning the good stuff, you're doing something stupid. Concussion. I think you're a pervert. Aha. That's so mean. But well said. I thought she was really cold. I didn't expect that she was only cold to us. She's doing those things in secret. Cold campus bell? She's always been alone. I told you she can't be that clean. The words around her became more and more harsh, and Su Qianxi's face became more and more gloomy. Slapping the table, she warned, "Do you have any proof for saying that?" Proof? Look at it yourself. The forum has proof. A boy threw a phone at her and there was a picture on it. It was the picture of her sitting in Li Xiqing's car when she went back yesterday. Seeing the picture, Su Qianxi calmed down and smiled sarcastically. This is your proof? The boy who threw the phone at her saw her smile and suddenly became dazed. Blushing, he stammered, "Isn't this enough? Me sitting in my family's car is proof that I'm a prostitute? Your family's car?" The boy was obviously dumbfounded. How is that possible? Everyone knows you're an orphan. This is a Maybach. This model costs at least 10 million. If your family is so rich, why did you have to work to pay for your tuition in high school? Obviously, her background had been investigated by many people. Su Qianxi heard that and sneered. I wonder if you know about Lu Ainan's incident. As he spoke, he tidied up the books on the desk and stuffed them into his bag. Seeing that Su Qianxi was about to leave, Abbess Miju was furious. Su Qianxi, where are you going? Skipping class. She did not look back. Out of sight, out of mind, with such a teacher and students. Out of the classroom, Su Qianxi pretended to be calm, but she soon collapsed. Who was so gossipy to actually talk about her like that? She opened Weibo and searched for Lu Ainan's case. As the news went down, the video and the news about Mrs. Li all disappeared. The rest was all about Lu Ainan. No wonder no one in the school recognized her as one of the protagonists of the Lu Ainan incident. Forget it. There was no lack of gossip in a place like the school. Maybe in 2 days this matter would be over. However, she had obviously underestimated the influence of such a thing. In less than 2 days, this matter had already risen to the level of gossip news, becoming the headline of all the major news outlets. Captain Li was sitting in the backyard playing games on his phone with his glasses on. Suddenly, a message popped up with a striking title. The campus belle of Kingstown University is suspected to have a mistress. She is an orphan, but she wears designer clothes and is driven to and fro by luxury cars. The female university students nowadays are really messy. Their morals are getting worse by the day. Captain Li sighed, but soon remembered something and straightened up. Isn't the campus belle our Qianqian? Chapter 152. Li Xiqing had just finished the meeting when his phone rang. He clicked it open and saw it was from Dear Baby Grandpa. Seeing the name, he was speechless. Grandpa must have secretly changed the name on his phone again. After changing the name to Grandpa, he clicked on the message. Reading the content of the news, Li Xiqing's eyes gradually became cold. He picked up the phone and dialed the internal line. Soon Qingyu came in. Boss. Li Xiqing threw the phone over. Take care of it. Qingyu took the phone and suddenly laughed. What's wrong with these people? However, she did not say anything and turned to leave. Less than 10 minutes after she left, she came back in, frowning. Boss, things seem to be a bit troublesome. Li Xiqing looked up from the pile of documents and looked at Qingyu. Qingyu looked embarrassed and said, There is something new on the internet. Li Xiqing handed the phone over and there was another eye-catching title. Breaking. The campus belle of Kingstown University is promiscuous and has been with several men at the same time. The temperature around Li Xiqing suddenly plummeted, and a dangerous atmosphere quickly spread. Qingyu only felt a chill run from the top of her head to her toes, and she silently shrank back. Clicking on the news, the first picture was the one of Su Qianxi and Lu Yihan seemingly kissing. How could it be? He had clearly deleted that picture from Tang Mingqing's phone. How could there still be one? Frowning, he scrolled down and saw Su Qianxi getting out of a red Renault. It was Lu Yihan's car. Further down, it was Su Qianxi holding Grandpa's arm and smiling. Then, Su Qianxi and Xing Shiming were sitting opposite each other. Su Qianxi and Louis Han were talking and laughing in the hospital bed. Su Qianxi and Louis Han were sitting opposite each other in the coffee shop. Su Qianxi and Fu Lingbing were standing side by side, clinking glasses and drinking. Looking at their clothes, it was from the high school reunion. Further down, it was a picture of Su Qianxi and Su Jinghua eating alone in a restaurant. There was no text description, but all the pictures combined with the title did not need any explanation. All of this was enough for everyone to imagine a blockbuster movie about a delinquent college student who was desperate for money. However, what bothered him was that if he had not been supervising her all the time, it would have been impossible to collect so many photos like this. Li Xiqing narrowed his eyes. Who had been following Su Qianxi? Standing up, he took his coat from the tripod and walked out. Find the source of the picture as soon as possible. The person behind this had obviously been plotting this for a long time. He wanted to see who was so bold. Qingyu was shocked. Yes. As soon as the new news came out, the posts that had been cooling down in the school forum were immediately pushed up again. Everyone was gossiping about the romantic history of the campus belle. Su Qianxi suddenly became a popular figure in the school. It was a public elective class in the afternoon. She never had the habit of being late, so she arrived at the classroom 5 minutes before the class started. Although she had attracted a lot of attention along the way, she had become accustomed to such gazes over the past few days. She didn't care and just sat in the classroom. However, in less than 2 minutes, the principal came to the door of the classroom and said to Su Qianxi, "Student, come out for a second." Seeing this scene, someone gloated and shouted, "The promiscuous goddess is going to be fired." Chapter 153. Seeing this scene, someone gloated and shouted, "The promiscuous goddess is going to be fired." The news is out. How can such a person stay on campus? Kingstown University cannot afford to lose face like this. Now everyone is talking about the school's spirit. It would be strange if the school would let her stay. The discussions around them continued to ring out. Su Qianxi's heart sank. Putting down the book in her hand, she was about to get up when she heard the principal say, "Put your books away and follow me to the principal's office." Hearing that, there was an even greater uproar. Feeling the gloating gazes around her, Su Qianxi felt a bit cold. Following the principal all the way, she saw that the principal was not going to the principal's office but directly took her downstairs. President Wang, isn't the principal's office upstairs? President Wang did not pay attention to her and took her directly to the playground. Su Qianxi glanced over and saw a crowd of people. A series of interview and filming equipment were all available. Su Qianxi stopped, but those people did not intend to let her go and rushed forward. "Miss Su, wait a minute. Don't go, wait a minute." Su Qianxi would not listen to them. She immediately turned around and wanted to escape. You can't reason with such nosy reporters. This kind of people would only try to dig what they wanted and would never believe her words and explanations. In that case, she might as well not face them. However, President Wang had tried so hard to bring her here. How could he let her go? Quickly blocking her way, President Wang's expression was not very good. "Miss Su, no matter what, I have to give Kingstown University an answer. We cannot let the whole campus be affected because of your style." Hearing that, Su Qianxi was so angry that she laughed. "My style problem? President Wang, have you tried to find out the truth? Have you asked me what is going on?" As a teacher, following the crowd, the principal of Kingstown University is nothing more than this. Headmaster Wang's expression turned even uglier. He pushed her, forcing her to face the reporters who were constantly crowding around them. Those reporters were even more excited, wanting to put the microphone in his mouth and push him forward. Su Qianxi covered her face, not letting them take pictures, but there was always a hand grabbing her hand, and the camera kept shining on her face. "This is a live broadcast. I'm Wang Qinghua, the principal of Kingstown University. I hereby announce that this female student's behavior is improper. She has brought shame to the university and her classmates. She will be expelled. From today on, she has nothing to do with the university." Principal Wang's words made the surrounding reporters even more excited. "Miss Su, do you have anything to explain?" "Miss Su, I heard that you have a relationship with the old chairman of the Li Financial Group. Is that true?" "Miss Su, how many men are you dating at the same time? Can you tell us?" Su Qianxi was almost blinded by the flashing lights. Feeling dizzy, the only thing that echoed in her head was Miss Su, I. Beep beep, the sound of a car horn could be heard. Everyone stopped what they were doing and turned to look behind them. Hearing the whistle, Su Qianxi felt vaguely familiar. However, there was no time to think about it. Seeing that they were all distracted, she quietly turned and wanted to slip away. "Catch her. She wants to run. Someone shouted, and all the attention was returned to Su Qianxi. Chapter 154. Miss Su, why do you want to run? Do you have a guilty conscience? Miss Su, do you really not have anything to say? Miss Su. Su Qianxi was annoyed by the way they kept calling her Miss Su. Turning around, she yelled, "You guys are so annoying. You don't believe me when I tell you the truth. Why do you have to force me to say that I'm a sugar daddy?" The reporters were silent for a second, but then they started to ask questions like crazy. Are you admitting that you're a sugar daddy? Miss Su, does your family know that you're so open? I heard that your sugar daddy is the president of SG Enterprise, right? Su Qianxi couldn't take it anymore and sneered, "Do you want to know the truth?" The reporters immediately quieted down, holding their breath, waiting for the next headline. The truth is that the car I got in was my husband's car, and the sugar daddy you've been talking about is Li Xiqing. Go ask him if you can. Then she turned around and walked away. However, these reporters were not to be trifled with. They immediately surrounded her, making it impossible for her to escape. Mr. Li is married. Don't you think it's shameless of you to say that? Although Mr. Li never appears in public, he is known for his integrity. Don't you think it's a slap in the face for you to say that? Mr. Li would never keep a college girl as a sugar daddy. Miss Su, while serving the sugar daddy, you are fantasizing about Mr. Li. Is that right? At the same time, Weibo posted, Campus Belle admits being a sugar daddy and fantasizes about Li Xiqing. Su Qianxi finally saw what gossip was and what reporters were. She should not have said anything. The more she said, the more mistakes she would make. She shut her mouth and tried to squeeze out, but it was a waste of effort. Beep beep. The whistle was louder and quieter than before. It was almost right in front of them. Many people were startled by the sudden loud whistle and quickly turned around, only to see a flashy and low-key black Maybach stop behind them. Su Qianxi looked at the car in disbelief. Wow, one of Beauty Su's rumored boyfriends. Someone shouted, and the reporters immediately changed their target and swarmed toward the black Maybach. The front passenger door was quickly opened. The flashing lights kept flashing, reflecting on the bright car, dazzling everyone's eyes. The car door opened and a long and powerful leg stepped out. A top-notch handmade blue and black striped suit appeared in front of everyone. As soon as he saw the clothes, he knew it was extraordinary. Many reporters with good eyesight quickly took a few close-up shots of the material. There was even a flamer who posted on Weibo on the spot with the words, "Breaking news. The school belle sugar daddy is wearing luxurious clothes and a luxurious car. His net worth is estimated to be over 100 million. But when the man in the car completely appeared in front of everyone, there was silence again. The man's figure was tall and straight, his face expressionless. Her almond-shaped eyes were bone-chilling and the aura around her was as cold as ice. Cold. But in the eyes of the reporters, there was a flame of restlessness. However, no one dared to speak first. Everyone knew that Mr. Li had a bad temper. There was silence for 1 second, 2 seconds. Finally, a female reporter couldn't help but ask, "Mr. Li, what are you doing here?" Chapter 155. No one had expected that Li Xiqing would answer. No one had expected him to answer like that. What kind of answer was that? Picking up his wife from class? This was a university. Could it be that his wife was a college student? No, that was impossible. Because she was a teacher here. Everyone was dumbfounded, looking at Li Xiqing. Li Xiqing walked straight towards Su Qianxi with his long legs, looking tall and handsome. What was going on? Li Xiqing, who had always stayed away from women, was walking toward this flirtatious campus belle? What kind of joke was that? Everyone suddenly felt that their brain circuits were not enough. Seeing Li Xiqing walking toward her, Su Qianxi was also dumbfounded. Li Xiqing's eyes were deep as he stopped in front of her. Is class over? His words were short and his voice was low, but very clear. Yes, Li Xiqing was talking to Su Qianxi. The breaking news made the reporters excited. Their hands seemed to be equipped with motors as they kept taking pictures. One reporter even asked, "Mr. Li, you said you are here to pick up your wife. May I ask who your wife is? Is she a teacher at Kingstown University?" Mr. Li Xiqing did not plan to answer them. Seeing Su Qianxi's dumbfounded face, he was displeased. Are you mute? Su Qianxi blinked, nodded, and then shook her head. What do you mean? I was supposed to be in class, but I was called out. By who? Su Qianxi pointed at President Wang. Principal Wang only felt Li Xiqing's threatening gaze and immediately felt a chill run down his spine. Li Xiqing narrowed his eyes, looking confused and questioning. Why? He wants to expel me and kick me out of the university. Su Qianxi felt like a child who was complaining. After seeing Li Xiqing, she felt indescribably safe. The pressure around Li Xiqing was even lower as he asked again, why? However, this time he was not asking Su Qianxi but President Wang. Facing the gazes from all directions, Headmaster Wang braced himself and said, "This female student's style and values are not right. She has a rotten private life and has brought shame to the university. Kingstown University cannot afford to keep such a student." Hearing the accusations, Li Xiqing thought for a while, but his eyes became colder. Arching an eyebrow, he asked, "How come I didn't know about her private life? From the moment they got married until now, other than the first day, she had always been clean." Principal Wang, however, did not know this. When he heard his question, he thought that he was curious and hurriedly explained, "Usually, these kinds of girls are best at deceiving people with their pure and innocent appearance. In reality, they are with several people at the same time. If not, how can they survive?" "You are talking nonsense." Su Qianxi was furious. He actually said it as if it was the truth. It was too disgusting. Ah. Li Xiqing chuckled and looked at President Wang with a sharp gaze. "You know it better than I do." President Wang did not feel that he was in trouble and said matter-of-factly, "Of course. I've seen a lot of girls like this." "Mr. Li, do you know this campus belle?" a reporter asked, trembling. "May I ask, what is your relationship?" Chapter 156. Li Xiqing's words were cold, and his face was expressionless, as if he was just narrating something that was not a big deal. However, when the words fell into the crowd, it immediately caused a commotion. "What the hell? F***CK, F***CK, F***CK. Su Qianxi is Li Xiqing's wife? They are husband and wife. Are you serious? That's impossible." Incredulous voices sounded one after another, and Su Qianxi also looked at the indifferent man in front of her incredulously. Her heart, which she had already decided to seal, was split open by this sentence of his, revealing a throbbing heart. Once again it started to beat slowly. "Mr. Li, is what you said true? Mr. Li, do you know that Su Qianxi's private life is so messy? Mr. Li, Su Qianxi has so many affairs. As her husband, do you have anything to say?" After coming back to their senses, the group of reporters seemed to be on steroids, and they kept bursting out incisive questions one after another. Li Xiqing's face became colder and colder. His eyes turned cold and his body turned sideways, emitting a cold aura in all directions. The reporters gradually stopped talking. At that moment, everyone felt threatened. No one could tell what Li Xiqing was feeling or his expression at the moment. Su Qianxi was behind him, her heart pounding. At the same time, she was nervous and angry. Reaching out, she tugged at his shirt and whispered, "Let's go. These people are so disgusting. Who knows what they will write later?" Li Xiqing's rough hand covered the back of her hand. Feeling the warmth, Su Qianxi's heart skipped a beat. He was holding her hand? In front of so many reporters, and it was a live broadcast. Su Qianxi was shocked and frightened. In her previous lifetime, he hated it when she mentioned that she was Mrs. Li. What did he mean now? She wanted to pull her hand back, but he held it down. He did not look back. Instead, he pulled her out from behind him and hooked her in front of him with his long arm. The explosive scene was captured by the flashing lights. Li Xiqing looked as usual, not noticing the excitement in the eyes of the reporters. He said indifferently, "Now, I will help you sort out the relationship between them." Slowly picking up his phone, he opened the web page and pointed at the photo of Su Qianxi holding Grandpa's arm. "The old man in the photo is my grandpa." In front of the TV, Captain Li was so angry that his beard was trembling. "You little brat, what do you mean by old man?" Li Xiqing had no idea that he had been scolded by Captain Li. He continued, "Su Zhenghua is her elder." Hearing this, the person who edited the press release felt uncomfortable and coughed lightly. He was just having a meal with an elder. Could it be that he would get involved with an elder? The young master of the Fu family, a class gathering. Most people knew who Fu Lingbing was. Many reporters also knew about the class reunion, so they nodded. What about the last one? The man with the most close-ups and the most shots. There should be more to this, right? You should have nothing to say about this, right? Chapter 157. The scene was silent. However, Su Qianxi could not help laughing out loud. Retarded? Louis Han was so smart. If he was retarded, then as she smiled, she immediately felt a pair of cold eyes on her head. She immediately stopped smiling and looked down. The reporters were shocked. Some of them had already posted on Weibo, God's reversal. Campus belle Sue works part-time to take care of her cousin with cerebral palsy. In front of the TV, Louis Han choked on his own saliva, coughing so hard that his face was red. When he finally calmed down, he turned his head and looked at his two best friends who were laughing so hard that they looked like retards. He roared, "What are you laughing at?" "Ah ha 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 ha. Retarded. What a shame. I can't take it anymore. Don't touch me. I feel like I am going to die. Die of laughter. Ah ha 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 ha." Louis Han clenched his fists and stomped his feet. Bastardly Siqing. "Ah ha ha ha. Retarded Lou, it's your fault for being so close to his wife. If it were me, I would definitely make you look like you have AIDS." Louis Han kicked him and said, "Screw you. I will definitely teach this guy a lesson. After Chanchan's incident is over, I will hack his computer and put 16 tea seeds in it." Louis Han's best friend's eyes lit up. Begging for seeds. F***ck off. Louis Han punched him on the shoulder again. "Are you done yet?" A long time ago. These pictures came from two devices. One is the camera of a small detective agency, and the other is from a mobile device. "Oh, it is our old classmate. Guess who it is?" "Luanen?" The guy looked surprised. "How did you know?" This kind of news is enough to ruin any girl. Except for Luanen, I can't think of anyone else who hates Chanchan so much and is willing to spend so much money on the news. Louis Han sneered. His usual frivolous look was very serious at this moment. "Isn't Lin wanting going to get married? Since Luanen has done this to Chanchan, how can we not make her pay? What do you want to do?" "You should go and ask Chanchan. She's the one who has the final say." A week passed. Every time he opened Weibo or read news, the headlines were all about Campus belle Sue, Li Siqing, and Kong University promiscuous girls. Among them, the most eye-catching one was breaking headlines. The campus belle of Kingstown University is the secret wife of the nation's husband. In just a few days, Su Qinxi had fallen from an ordinary person to hell, and from hell to heaven. This was the first time he had experienced such ups and downs in both his previous and current lives. Through such an incident, Su Qinxi had received a lot of attention at school. In the past, it was because of her face, the face that was known as the campus belle. Now it was because of Li Siqing. President Qinghua Wang was suspended, and soon, a new president was announced. Time passed quickly and a week had passed. Soon it was September 30th. Captain Li called Su Qinxi and Li Siqing back to the old house to prepare for the trip tomorrow. Chapter 158. Su Qinxi did not have any classes in the afternoon. When she received the call from Grandpa, Li Siqing was still at the company. When she returned to the old house alone, it was after 2 p.m. Carrying a simple suitcase home, Han Sen saw Tang Menjing crying in the living room. In this world, Tang Menjing was the person Su Qinxi hated the most. Frowning, Su Qinxi chose to ignore her and was about to go back to her room. However, Tang Menjing did not let her. Looking at her with tears, she said, "Su Qinxi, I heard you were coming back today, so I waited for you here." Qin Shuhua had always liked Tang Menjing. Sitting next to her, she comforted her. Hearing Tang Menjing's voice, her heart was broken. "Su Qinxi, Tang Menjing is talking to you. Respond to her," Qin Shuhua said in a blaming tone. Lu Sa had already taken Su Qinxi's luggage and sent it to her room. Hearing Qin Shuhua's voice, Su Qinxi stopped and turned around. "Siqing is coming back soon. I remember he said that you are not welcome to come to our house again. Go before he comes back." Tang Menjing heard that and burst into tears. Looking at Qin Shuhua, she said, "Auntie, don't be afraid. I'm right here. Siqing is good at talking. He will not really mind that you are here. Besides, he only warned Mengqing not to come back, not you." Hearing that, Tang Menjing smiled, stood up and walked to Su Qinxi. "I'm sorry, Su Qinxi. You have been wronged recently. It was my cousin's fault. She bribed those websites to promote your photos. I have scolded her after I learned about it. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry." Then she cried even harder. Feeling disgusted, Su Qinxi looked away and said coldly, "It's okay. It's all in the past and I was not hurt. Forget it." "You were not hurt, but Anan." Tang Menjing's tears fell. "After Anan's grandpa, my grandpa, heard about this, he had a heart attack and was admitted to the hospital. He is about to die. He hopes that you can understand the apology of the Lu family and the Tang family." Su Qinxi looked at her. "I see." Tang Menjing was overjoyed. "You accepted it?" She did not answer and turned to go back to her room. However, Qin Shuhua did not look satisfied. Chenxi, let people go when possible. Su Chenxi stopped. Mom, if Siqing had not clarified for me a few days ago, I might have been drowned in the spit of all the netizens, and I was almost forced to drop out of school. If it were not for my mental endurance, I would have jumped off a building and committed suicide. Sophistry. Qin Shuhua was a little angry. Aren't you fine? Tang Minjing came to apologize to you out of goodwill. You should at least give her some face. Oh, who was she? Why did she have to give her face? With a sneer on her lips, she did not say it out loud. Mom, I'm a little tired. I'm going to rest first. Qin Shuhua wanted to say something, but she glanced at Captain Li, who had been standing at the door for a long time. She felt a little guilty. Dad. Chapter 159. Yes, Grandpa. Come on, I've collected a lot of information these days. Let's discuss the route tomorrow. Qin Shuhua felt a bit surprised, blinked, and said, Dad, are you going with them? In fact, Su Chenxi felt a bit strange. After all, the old man was 70 this year. How could he still be so healthy? Grandpa was really old but strong. Captain Li turned his head and stared at her. What's wrong? You don't want to give it to me? Qin Shuhua looked embarrassed. Of course not. Captain Li snorted and turned his head, thinking, what do you know? He was not doing this because he liked to play. He had something big to do. Thinking of the big thing he was about to do, he was in a good mood. Smiling, he took Su Chenxi to sit on the sofa. However, glancing at Tang Menjing, who was standing there like a display board, he was reluctant and said, let's go to the study. Okay. Su Chenxi couldn't wait to see Tang Menjing, so she quickly went to the study with Grandpa. Although the old man was old, it could be seen that he was a very playful person when he was young. It was a good guide, and Su Chenxi had no objections after reading it. When she came down again, it was already past 5 p.m. Madam, it's time to finish dinner. Go to the pool and ask Li Siqing to come back for dinner. He's back. Yes, bring him some water. He's prone to dehydration after swimming. Okay, leave it to me. Su Chenxi took a bottle of mineral water and walked to the pool. The Tang family and the Li family were friends and neighbors for many years. This pool belonged to the Li family, but it was located between the Tang family and the Li family. It was not very big, only about 100 square meters. However, in Kingstown, where every inch of land was worth its weight in gold, it was rare to own. After swimming 2 laps, Li Siqing stopped by the side and broke out of the water. Wiping his face, he felt a shadow above him. Looking up, he saw Tang Menjing smiling at him, gentle and virtuous. She was wearing a sexy bikini with deep cleavage. Under the black lace swimsuit, it was a bit dazzling. If any other man had seen it, he would have been thrilled. However, the man in front of him was Li Siqing. After what happened in Australia, Li Siqing had a completely bad impression of her. His originally expressionless face turned even colder at this moment. What are you doing here? Tang Menjing kept her smile and said softly, Brother Siqing, I will swim with you. Then she jumped into the water and quickly came out of the water. Brother Siqing, I haven't completely mastered the backstroke you taught me last time. Can you teach me again? Li Siqing asked. Li Siqing's eyes lit up. When was the last time? Tang Menjing's smile froze. That was 4 years ago when they were still in college. Li Siqing obviously did not remember. He swam toward the stairs and said coldly, Comprehend it yourself. I don't have time. Seeing this, Tang Menjing panicked. She jumped up and hugged him from behind, pressing her voluptuous breasts against his back. Brother Siqing, can you forgive me? I was too stupid last time. I will never do that again. Li Siqing's eyes lit up and he looked at Tang Menjing. Chapter 160. Li Siqing pushed her away and turned around to face her. His eyes were deep and cold. Tang Menjing felt a bit guilty. Avoiding his eyes, she called carefully, Brother Siqing? You mean what happened in Australia or what happened to Su Chenxi a few days ago? The cold voice paused for a moment. Is there something else you can't do? What happened a few days ago has nothing to do with me. It was my cousin who kept it from all of us. You don't need to explain to me. Then he turned around and left. Tang Menjing's eyes were suddenly filled with tears. Brother Siqing, why did it become like this between us? Didn't you say it before? You said that you would always treat me as well as you treat your sister. Is this how you treat your sister? Tang Menjing's eyes were filled with tears. Li Siqing did not respond to her and swam toward the stairs. Tang Menjing cried even louder, her chest heaving up and down as she yelled, In this case, I might as well die. With his back to her, Li Xiqing only heard the sound of someone hitting the water, followed by the sound of water being poured. Shocked, he turned around and saw that Tang Menjing was already in the water. Li Xiqing's face darkened, and his eyes became even colder. Threatening? Acting? After watching in silence for a dozen seconds, Li Xiqing moved. He swam forward, grabbed her arm and lifted her up. Tang Menjing coughed hard and wiped the water from her eyes, her face full of surprise. However, when she looked at him, she found that Li Xiqing looked even worse. You will only make me hate you more. Tang Menjing's face turned pale. She sniffed and the warm liquid flowed down her nose. I just want to go back to how we used to be. Have you forgotten that you used to be very nice to me? I was nice to Weya and Shania, but they would not want to climb into my bed. It sounded harsh, but it was the truth. All Tang Menjing wanted was to climb into his bed and be his woman. But for a girl like Tang Menjing, it was like being stripped naked and thrown on the street for everyone to see. Tang Menjing looked at him and caught a glimpse of a white figure walking toward them. It was her. That was the woman who had destroyed all her dreams and given her all her pain. Tang Menjing made up her mind. In for a penny, in for a pound. He strode forward and threw himself at her. He did not expect her to do it so suddenly. When he realized what was going on, he was already in her arms. Tang Menjing put her hands and legs firmly on his body, like an octopus. Her voluptuous breasts clung to his well-defined chest. She raised her head and kissed his lips. Holding a bottle of water in her hand, Su Qinxi was thinking about the trip tomorrow. Recently, the relationship between her and Li Xiqing had improved a lot. When Grandpa asked him to go with them, he did not say no. Although Grandpa had set them up, this was the first time in their lives that they would go on a trip together. Was this a honeymoon? She felt an inexplicable sweetness in her heart. She quickly walked to the side of the swimming pool. From afar she saw two people. A man and a woman entangled and kissing. Chapter 161. Her heart felt like it had been hit by something, and the bottle of water in her hand fell to the ground. Su Qinxi clearly saw the provocative look from Tang Menjing, and her heart trembled. The fire in her heart that had been rekindled in the past few days was extinguished under such a look. Su Qinxi slightly stepped back, her eyes burning. So dazzling, yes, how could she forget that he and Tang Menjing were a couple? And she was just a mistress. Without her, Li Xiqing and Tang Menjing would be the most natural couple, right? Ha! She was so naive to think that the reason why he was so nice to her recently was that he began to like her. Or perhaps his liking towards her was merely liking. Rumble. Deafening thunder sounded, and the sky began to change. Dense dark clouds quickly gathered, and the surroundings were so oppressive that it was hard to breathe. She turned around and ran. Once again Su Qinxi felt humble. Just like in her previous lifetime, she could not maintain her dignity in front of them. Don't cry, don't cry. But her heart hurt. Several times she had always warned herself not to be tempted, but she was always fooled by the illusion he had created. Now it was time to wake up, wasn't it? It was time to wake up. She should wake up from this dream a long time ago. Li Xiqing was furious, pushed her away and pushed her into the water. Tang Menjing was pushed back, choking on the water and barely standing. Her eyes were full of hurt. Brother Xiqing. Li Xiqing washed his mouth with water, turned around and went ashore in disgust. Covering himself with a big towel, he hurried away. Big drops of rain fell from the sky. They fell on Tang Menjing's head, face, body, and heart. Her heart was burning with pain and so was her face. With her looks and figure, she had never met a man who had rejected her again and again. You will regret this. All of you will regret this. On the shore, Tang Menjing was not in a hurry to go home in the heavy rain. Instead, she picked up her phone and made a call. On October 15th, Mr. Li will hold a reception for his granddaughter-in-law. Before that, I want you to create a big scandal. Can you do it? For example? The bigger the scandal that will make her unable to stay in the Li family, the better. Rumble. Tang Menjing crossed her arms and gritted her teeth harder. No, it has to be done secretly. I want to destroy her on the day of the party. The purple-gold lightning split the sky in half. The dark clouds squirmed as if they had turned into malicious ghosts and vengeful spirits, wailing and wailing. In the bathroom she took a deep breath in the mirror, opened the door and walked out. Li Xiqing happened to walk in wearing only a pair of swimming trunks. His well-defined muscles were dripping water, outlining his strong and healthy lines. She glanced at him and quickly looked away. When she was about to walk around him, he caught her arm. They looked up and in a flash their eyes met. What's wrong with your eyes? They were red as if she had been crying. She pushed his hand away and shook her head. It's none of your business. She sounded a bit impatient. Walking around him, she opened the door and walked out. Li Xiqing narrowed his eyes dangerously, a bit of confusion flashing in his cold eyes. Chapter 162. Su Qianxi left the room and was called to the dining room by Grandpa. When Li Xiqing arrived, it was already 10 minutes later. Li Xiqing's father was also home, and the family was happy. Captain Li was in a good mood. After greeting Li Xiqing's father, he looked at Su Qianxi and said kindly, "Qianqian, when will Grandpa have a great-grandson?" Su Qianxi was drinking soup. Hearing the old man's question without any warning, she almost choked. When she was thinking about how to answer, Li Xiqing wiped his mouth with a tissue and said slowly, "Soon." Captain Li was pleasantly surprised and asked excitedly, "Are you pregnant again?" However, Nanny Rong said that they had been sleeping in separate rooms. Did they get together again without Nanny Rong knowing? Ayaya, he knew it. A tiger doesn't have any grandchildren. This brat will be successful sooner or later. Not yet. Li Xiqing put down the tissue and said seriously, "I will try my best." Ahem. Su Qianxi felt she was choked by her own saliva and coughed heavily. Her eyes became wet and red. What's wrong? Li Xiqing turned his head and asked. Qin Shuhua looked at her son with a hint of rebuke in her eyes. She smiled and said, "You're shy. Can't you tell?" "Ah, we are family. No need to be shy." Li Xiqing's father was also in a good mood. "But you don't have to rush. You can think about it after graduation." "Why wait until graduation? You will be a senior next year. You should start your internship and prepare for pregnancy," Qin Shuhua suggested. Hearing that, Li Xiqing curled his lips. With a deep look in his eyes, he picked up the bowl of soup beside him and took a sip. He would try his best to plant a seed before the divorce contract expired. By then, she would not be able to escape even if she wanted to. There was still a long time. He would take it slow. At that time, no matter how much she liked Louis Han, he would not let her go easily. "I'm full." Su Qianxi stood up, her cheeks and eyes slightly red. She hurriedly walked out and said, "I'll go up first. Dad, Mom, Grandpa enjoy. How can you give me a great-grandson if you eat so little?" Grandpa was a bit dissatisfied, but she had already walked away and did not want to look back. Seeing Su Qianxi's figure disappeared, Lu Sa came over and whispered, "I think the second young mistress is not in a good mood. She probably remembers the child. Young master, you should go and have a look." Li Xiqing frowned, put down the bowl and looked at his parents and grandpa. "I'll go have a look." "Go. It's our fault for forgetting." Qin Shuhua blamed herself. Mr. Li reached out and gently patted Qin Shuhua on the shoulder. "It's okay. She will get over it." Li Xiqing walked back to his room. As soon as he reached the door, he heard an extremely suppressed sob. Reaching out, Zhang Xian gently pushed open the door, and the sobbing sounds inside came to an abrupt stop. Then Li Xiqing saw a figure flash into the bathroom and he heard the door slam. Did he really think of that child? He walked in slowly and closed the door behind him. Chapter 163. She wiped her tears and forced herself to calm down. "What's up? I'm going to take a shower." It was hard to tell that she had cried. Li Xiqing's eyes darkened. He did not expect this woman to be so good at acting. Thinking about it, he said in a low voice, "I want to go to the bathroom. Come out first." "There's a bathroom outside." "Yes." It was silent for a while. About 10 seconds later, the door was opened from the inside. She deliberately lowered her head and wanted to brush past him, but he grabbed her hand. "What?" Su Qianxi's voice was a bit low, a bit hoarse and a bit depressed. "Sit with me." Then, regardless of whether she was willing or not, he pulled her to the bed and sat down. She was a bit reluctant, struggling with her hands, and her eyes became redder. "Why are you crying?" Li Xiqing's voice softened. His rough hand wiped the tears from her eyes, and there was a touch of self-blame in his cold eyes. "Don't cry." It would have been fine if Li Xiqing did not say it. Once he did, she could not control herself. Tears flowed down her cheeks. She slapped his hand away and wanted to stand up and leave, but he pressed her down. "It's not a big deal," he said. The child was gone, but she could have another one as long as she was willing. However, in Su Qianxi's ears, it had a different meaning. "Yeah, it's not a big deal." She curled her lips with a bitter smile. No matter in her previous lifetime or this lifetime, Li Xiqing had always liked and loved Tang Menjing, and she was only his wife in name. That was all. She had been deceiving herself all along, hadn't she? Taking a deep breath, she gathered her courage and forced a smile on her face. Trying to be calm, she said, "Mr. Lee, let's get a divorce." Her words were like a bucket of cold water, putting out the fire in his heart. Li Xiqing's face darkened, and the temperature around him suddenly dropped. That rare gentleness was all gone to heaven to feed the ghosts. "Didn't you want to talk to me about this last time? Now I'll fulfill your wish." Li Xiqing's face was so cold that it was almost frozen. He suddenly tightened his grip on her hand. "Impossible." Su Qianxi frowned in pain. Seeing his cold and dangerous expression, all the tears in her eyes disappeared. She looked at him and forcefully pried his hand away. Is there any meaning in continuing like this? He had his lover, his private life. And she, at best, was just a cannon fodder that he used to block his grandfather. Now Mrs. Li liked Tang Menjing so much. If Tang Menjing could put in a good word for Mr. Li might be able to persuade him. No matter what, it would still be better than their current marriage with an empty shell, wouldn't it? Looking at her calm and serious look, Li Xiqing's eyes became gloomy. Suddenly his lips curled. There was sarcasm and danger in his eyes. Chapter 164. Li Xiqing strode past her and slammed the door shut. Bang! The loud sound made Su Qianxi's heart skip a beat, and she was short of breath. The commotion here had also spread outside. Under everyone's gaze, Li Xiqing walked out of the door. Qin Shuhua hurried over and asked, "Did you fight?" Su Qianxi shook her head, pursed her lips, and said that she was tired. She walked Qin Shuhua out the door. Li Xiqing did not come back for the rest of the night. The next morning, Lu Sa knocked on the door, helped her with her luggage, and took her things out. Su Qianxi's eyes were a bit swollen. Fortunately, it was not too serious. After a hot compress, she put on some light makeup and it was completely gone. Captain Li did not seem to know that Li Xiqing and Su Qianxi had quarreled. He was in high spirits discussing the travel strategy with Su Qianxi. He talked incessantly and excitedly. Grandpa's car was an old military Hummer, and the driver was the son of his adjutant when he was young. Su Qianxi knew them all. In her previous lifetime, they were the ones who accompanied her the most. But in this lifetime, she probably could not see them more than a few times. Feeling a bit disappointed, Su Qianxi was a bit absent-minded. "Qian, did you hear what I said?" Captain Li was a bit upset. "What?" Su Qianxi looked up and felt a bit guilty. "Sorry, Grandpa, I am not feeling well." "Not feeling well? Just in a bad mood?" Captain Li snorted and looked at the time. "That boy is too much. He did not even text me at this time. Is he looking for trouble?" "Master, Mr. Li is already waiting for us at the airport." Captain Li heard that and snorted. "I knew it. Do I need you to remind me?" The driver obediently shut up, and soon the car was parked at the airport. After helping Captain Li and Su Qianxi with their luggage, the driver left. After going through a series of procedures, she entered the VIP lounge and saw Li Xiqing sitting on the sofa with his legs crossed and his eyes closed. Seeing that he was really there, Captain Li looked a bit more relaxed. "Boy, when did you come?" Li Xiqing opened his eyes, glanced at Su Qianxi and then looked at Captain Li. He said quietly, "Just arrived." After that, he did not say anything else. It took more than 6 hours to fly from China to the Maldives. When they arrived, it was just afternoon. This trip was arranged by Captain Li. Even Li Xiqing could not interfere, let alone Su Qianxi. When they arrived at the hotel, she found a very serious problem. Grandpa had only booked one room for them. Thinking of sleeping in the same room with Li Xiqing for 6 days, Su Qianxi felt a bit conflicted. After Captain Li happily moved into his room, she went to the front desk and whispered in English, "Help me get an extra room." "I'm sorry, miss, there are no more rooms available at the moment. If you want to book an extra room, you'll have to line up now and wait until next week." "It can't be. So popular?" Seeing her disappointed face, the receptionist smiled and said, "Miss, this is the most romantic island. The hotels around here have always been very popular. Normally, it is impossible to have an empty room at this time." Chapter 165. Su Qianxi suddenly felt uncomfortable. Holding the key card in her hand, she walked up the exquisite circular staircase and went to the 3rd floor. However, before she was summoned to her room, she ran into an acquaintance. "Miss Su?" The familiar voice sounded a bit tentative. Hearing the voice, she paused and turned around. It was indeed Xing Shiming. Su Qianxi was pleasantly surprised. "Hey, Uncle Xing, you are also staying in this hotel? What a coincidence." Sheng Shiming was a bit surprised to hear her call him Uncle Sheng, but did not dislike it at all. He nodded and said, "Yes, what a coincidence. Which room are you staying in?" 388 and you? 268. Yifan is here too. He is staying in 266. Yifan? Song Yifan? Yes. Sheng Shiming nodded and smiled. You just got here? Yes. Su Qianxi nodded. Right, I forgot to save your business card. What's your number? I have your number. I'll call you. Okay, I'll go find a room first. Let's have dinner together later. Sure. Sheng Shiming did not expect her to answer so quickly. He smiled and said, see you later. Okay. Su Qianxi quickly turned around and went upstairs. Sheng Shiming looked at her back, then turned his head and saw a figure slowly walking towards him. She is staying here. Are you ready? Yes. After finding her room, she opened the door. As soon as she entered, she was amazed by the style of the room. It was a luxurious suite with thick royal blue curtains. When she pulled them open, she saw a large floor-to-ceiling window with a sea view. Looking out, it was a vast expanse of blue. Seagulls were spreading their wings and the sun was blazing. Below, on the golden beach, people were playing and the scenery was picturesque. Turning his head, he saw a 2-meter-wide bed in the middle of the room. On the white sheet, there was a large layer of red rose petals, and in the middle was a heart made of pink petals. So extravagant and wasteful. Did every room in this hotel look like this? Wouldn't that be a huge loss? Su Qianxi saw the exaggerated petals and was speechless. She walked to the bedside table, dialed the internal line, and asked the hotel bellboy to bring her luggage up. Nanny Rong and Lu Sa took turns to pack, so they were well prepared. She opened her luggage and put them in the closet one by one. There were not only her clothes but also Li Xiqing's. When she was almost done, she picked up the last piece of clothing and shook it. Suddenly a few things fell. Taking a closer look, there were 2 square boxes with 2 eye-catching characters printed on them. Okamoto. He glanced down and saw the words size, super large. Looking further down, he discovered that there was also Durex. Almost all the sizes ranged from large to extra large. There was not even a medium size. How confident was he in Li Xiqing's size? Looking at the boxes, Su Qianxi's face suddenly became hot. As if she had caught a hot potato, she threw the 2 small boxes away. The sound of a card swiping came from the door. Su Qianxi froze and looked at the door incredulously. When Li Xiqing opened the door, he saw a small thing flying to his feet. Su Qianxi felt her head was buzzing. Running forward, she picked up the condom at Li Xiqing's feet and hid it behind her. Seeing her uncomfortable look, Li Xiqing's eyes flickered and asked, "What are you hiding?" Chapter 166. Su Qianxi's heart was pounding. Seeing his slightly puzzled look, she shook her head again and again. Seeing this, Li Xiqing's eyes immediately became a bit obscure, but he did not care and walked inside. Seeing him walking in, Su Qianxi breathed a sigh of relief, but she immediately realized that there was more inside. Li Xiqing walked in and immediately saw a whole layer of condoms under the suitcase. Light shot out from his cold eyes. Then, his eyes fell on Su Qianxi's face and glanced at her. Oh, it turns out to be daily products. Su Qianxi's face was even redder. She took out the small box in her hand and threw it into the suitcase, explaining awkwardly, I don't know if it was Nanny Rong or Lu Sa who put it there. It was not me." Li Xiqing did not speak again. His eyes fell on the big bed covered with rose petals, walked to the other side of the bed, and unceremoniously lifted the quilt. The red and pink petals flew up and then slowly fell down. From Li Xiqing's point of view, the girl in the white dress was standing in the rain of petals. Su Qianxi was stunned. Looking at the flying petals, she suddenly felt like she was in a dream. Soon, the petals fell all over the floor and the room was full of fragrance. Li Xiqing saw the amazement in her eyes and felt a trace of satisfaction. Well, it was beautiful. But when he saw Su Qianxi's slightly puzzled look, he looked away and shook off the petals on the blanket. Looking down, he said, "If I'm tired, I'll rest for a while. I'll go down later." Then he strode forward, closed the suitcase, put it on the cabinet, opened the wardrobe, took out a set of clothes and walked into the bathroom. Su Qianxi was dazed. Was he cleaning the bed for her? But very quickly, he shook his head, and the corners of his lips curled up in a mocking smile. He probably just did not want to see that dazzling pink heart. Taking a deep breath, Su Qianxi patted the white dress on her body, opened the wardrobe and took out a set of loose pajamas. She changed in the room and lay directly on the bed. When he came out of the shower, she was already sound asleep. Taking a dry towel to dry his hair, he inadvertently glanced at Su Qianxi's cell phone on the bedside table, and a pleasant ringtone rang. It was an unknown number and the caller ID was Connecticut. Vaguely feeling that the number was a bit familiar, Li Xiqing frowned and picked up the phone. "Hey Miss Su, come down and have a meal with me. I'm sitting by the window in the hall. I can see the sea view outside." After a moment of silence he asked, "Are you also in the Maldives?" In addition, from his tone, he must have known that Su Qianxi was also in this hotel. Could it be that they had arranged this beforehand? No, Su Qianxi didn't even like him, so she should not like this kind of guy. Did he follow her? Li Xiqing's eyes darkened, and his aura became even colder. Such an old man was almost old enough to be her father. Was he sure that he could eat this young grass? Sheng Shiming suddenly heard a male voice and thought that he had called the wrong number. After checking to make sure it was Su Qianxi's number, he asked, "Are you Miss Su's husband? Where is she?" Chapter 167. Sheng Shiming suddenly did not know what to say. He did not know if it was an illusion, but he felt that Li Xiqing was hostile to him. He guessed that Su Qianxi was asleep, but he could have just said, "in bed," or, "asleep." Yet he said, "on my bed." This sentence made people think too much. "Don't misunderstand. What is it?" Li Xiqing's cold voice could be heard over the phone. No matter how thick-skinned Sheng Shiming was, he knew that Li Xiqing did not want him to call Su Qianxi, so he explained, "I don't mean anything else. I just want to, don't call me if you have nothing to say." His cold voice did not fluctuate much, with a strong sense of Li Xiqing's style. Immediately the call was hung up. Sheng Shiming had never been humiliated like this before, feeling a bit embarrassed. Looking at the man in front of him, he sighed, "It seems that it will be difficult to see her this time." Hanging up the phone, he glanced at Su Qianxi, who was sleeping soundly, unaware of what was going on around her. She was like a little pig, not even waking her up. With a smile, Li Xiqing looked at Su Qianxi's phone again. After putting the number into the blacklist, he put it back in its original position. Su Qianxi was woken up by hunger. The Maldives was 3 hours later than China. When she woke up, it was already past 7 p.m., which meant it was past 10 p.m. in the capital. No wonder she was so hungry. Jumping out of bed, Su Qianxi quickly washed up and was ready to go downstairs to find food. Picking up her phone, she saw a WeChat message from Grandpa. "Chan, I am downstairs in the dining room. Come down with your baby grandson." Kiss my precious second grandson? Li Xiqing's face, which looked like he wanted to freeze the whole world, did not deserve such a cute name. She checked the time. It was 10 minutes ago, so Grandpa should still be there. Walking down the circular staircase, she saw a lot of people in the hall, which was very lively. Her phone vibrated and she received a message from Grandpa. "I am at the end of the hall by the window." When he found the place, he saw his grandfather waving at him. Su Qianxi also waved at Captain Li and quickly walked down the stairs. However, when she was on the last 2 steps, her feet tilted and she fell down. She exclaimed, "Be careful." A man's voice rang out. Then a large hand caught her. Su Qianxi was propped up. After seeing the face of the man in front of her, she was dazed. Her eyes flashed with surprise and then she blurted out in disbelief, "Bo Xiao?" Bo Xiao was a little surprised. Looking at the woman in front of him, who was obviously a complete stranger, he nodded slightly in a gentlemanly manner. "I am. Of course I know him." Bo Xiao was the youngest and most famous musician in the world. He came from a mysterious noble family, but his background was unfathomable. If she remembered correctly, Bo Xiao did not become famous until 3 years later. With his amazing song, he was much more popular than Song Yifan. How could she meet such a person? "You know me?" Hearing the question, Su Qianxi subconsciously wanted to nod, but immediately shook her head and said firmly, "No." Before she finished her sentence, she felt a strange atmosphere around her. Looking sideways, she saw a tall figure walking toward her, with a cold aura that was hard to ignore. Chapter 168. Li Xiqing walked over and glanced at Su Qianxi with his cold eyes. Soon his gaze fell on Bo Xiao. "Thank you, sir." Li Xiqing reached out a hand to him. "If it were not for you, my wife would have fallen." Su Qianxi felt flattered. He was actually thanking her? However, Bo Xiao had already heard the key point in his words. Wife. This man was warning him. Bo Xiao curled his thin red lips and gently shook Li Xiqing's hand. "You're welcome, Mr. Li. You know me?" "Mr. Li is very famous. If I did not know you, I would be too ignorant." Bo Xiao. Li Xiqing. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. In just a few words, Su Qianxi inexplicably felt a strong sense of tension. Looking at Li Xiqing and then at Bo Xiao, Su Qianxi's stomach growled. The eyes of the two men almost fell on her at the same time. Su Qianxi smiled awkwardly and blushed. I'm hungry. Li Xiqing curled his lips, put an arm around her shoulders and said, let's eat. Su Qianxi's heart suddenly skipped a beat, and she stared at him with her eyes wide open. Inexplicably, she felt a bit uncomfortable. He was really good at holding a woman. She wondered what he looked like when he held Tang Menjing. Feeling a bit sad, Su Qianxi quickly looked hurt. Bo Xiao clearly caught all her emotions and turned his gaze to the man who was obviously cold and indifferent. Li Xiqing did not see the change in Su Qianxi's expression. Meeting Bo Xiao's eyes, he nodded and said, goodbye. Then he put his arm around Su Qianxi and walked in the direction of Grandpa. Bo Xiao looked at their backs, his dark brown eyes full of interest. Li Xiqing's wife turned out to be such a delicate and beautiful little thing. However, it seemed that this couple did not look like a couple. It seemed that Deng and Su Qianxi actually did not feel much harmony with each other. Instead, they looked like two people who were forcibly tied together. Interesting. Young master, madam wants you to go over. Yes, coming. Before she reached Grandpa's seat, she couldn't help it anymore. Lifting his arm, she ducked under his arm and ran away. Li Xiqing clearly felt her repulsion. Clenching his fists, his eyes darkened, he followed her. Sitting in the seat in front of Grandpa, Su Qianxi's eyes lit up when she saw the variety of dishes. She was starving. You must be hungry. I ordered all your favorites. More. Thank you, Grandpa. Su Qianxi smiled happily and stabbed a piece of cake with her fork. But just as he was about to put it into his mouth, a large hand snatched it away. Have some milk first. He put a glass of warm milk in front of her. Su Qianxi's little face suddenly became gloomy, and she hated him even more. Glaring at him, she gulped down the milk, grabbed the fork in his hand and took a bite. Eat slowly, Li Xiqing said again. No one is fighting with you. Damn it, the ghost won't go away. Su Qianxi slowed down and poked the cake in front of her, looking unhappy. If Tang Minjing was eating with him, he would definitely not care so much. However, she was really hungry. Not eating? Chapter 169. Half of it was true and the other half was not. In the past, when she saw him, she would feel that he was a feast for the eyes. Now, it was still the same face, the same figure, and the same cold expression. However, thinking of that day when she saw him kissing Tang Menjing as well as that phone call, she felt disgusted. What was worse was that he was talking about this and that while she was eating, which made her feel even more annoyed. He did not seem to be disliked at all. Frowning, he put a piece of barbecue on her plate. Stop it. His voice was cold, but the two words that came out of his mouth sounded like he was coaxing a child. Su Qianxi felt that there was something in her stomach and she could not let it go. Glancing at the old man who was laughing happily, she turned her grief into appetite. After eating and drinking, Grandpa stretched, indicating that he was going to rest. Su Qianxi had just woken up and was very energetic. After old Master Li went upstairs to rest, he stood up and left. The location of the hotel that Captain Li had booked was very good. Not far from the entrance was the beach. On both sides of the long wooden bridge, warm yellow lights were shining. Couples were coming and going, holding each other's hands and saying the most romantic words in various languages. Su Qianxi felt envious. It was indeed a honeymoon place. Taking off her shoes, she stepped into the sea barefoot. The cold water kept surging up, reaching her ankles. The sea breeze was salty and many men and women were running back and forth on the beach. The cheerful and childlike laughter of children kept coming. Su Qianxi felt that her soul had been cleansed. At this moment, her mind was empty without any distractions. It had been a long time since she had been so relaxed. Chapter 170. Happy. Hearing the cold voice, Su Qianxi stiffened and turned her head. Li Xiqing was wearing casual, loose clothes, looking a bit casual. But between his brows, there was still an indescribable coldness. With both hands in his pockets, he turned his head and looked over. Under the blazing warm yellow light, his deep pitch-black eyes seemed to shine with an indescribable starlight. One look and she was attracted. Su Qianxi was a bit dazed. His eyes were like extremely attractive magnets, constantly luring her to get closer. Every time she had no way to escape. When their eyes met, Su Qianxi clearly sensed that his eyes were getting darker and darker. Quickly looking away, she suppressed her racing heartbeat and was about to put on her shoes. But the moment she turned around, a rough and large hand grabbed her arm. "Mr. Li, can I help you?" Su Qianxi could hear the nervousness in her voice. Hearing Mr. Li, Li Xiqing frowned and tightened his grip on her arm. He said in a low voice, "Want to talk?" Although it was a question, he did not mean to ask for an answer. Su Qianxi was pulled to sit down by him. The sea breeze gently swept over, lifting her long hair and hitting his face. The tip of his nose was filled with the light scent of shampoo. Brushing aside the strand of black hair, he casually played with it. It was as smooth as silk. Well, it felt good. "Why are you afraid of me?" Li Xiqing asked. Su Qianxi did not expect that his first question would be this. Afraid of him? Afraid? Of course. When she first married him, she was not afraid. Everyone said that Li Xiqing was cold-blooded and ruthless, but she did not take it seriously. Again and again she provoked him and stepped into his forbidden zone. Although it was partly because of Tang Menjing, Su Qianxi knew that it was because of her innocent and naive personality. Later he became more and more disgusted with her. Every time he saw her, he would treat her coldly. Even in front of so many people, he did not give her any face. Later, when she saved him from the fire and disfigured his face, he mistook her for the culprit behind the kidnapping and arson. He did not give her any leeway. Other than sparing her life and her status, he had taken everything away from her. At that moment she was truly afraid. This fear lasted for 3 years. For the past 3 years, with her scarred face, every time she saw him, she would consciously hide far away. Inferiority and longing. At that time she was so envious of Tang Menjing. He envied her for being able to stand with him so openly. He envied her for being the best candidate for Mrs. Li in everyone's eyes. He, on the other hand, was destined to be a lonely shadow in the dark world, unseen and unconcerned. Now that she was reborn, she had developed a habit of being afraid to face him, afraid to approach him. He was the deepest desire in her heart. She wanted him, but she didn't dare to. She could not afford it. She nodded and then shook her head. Her expression was a bit complicated, looking up at his impeccably handsome face. She could talk to him so calmly face to face. Everything was like a dream. Seeing her nod and then shake her head, he asked again, "Am I scary?" She nodded again and again. Li Xiqing looked out to the sea, and his cold voice was almost blown away by the sea breeze. He said, "It's very unfair for you to do this." Chapter 171. Su Qianxi looked at his cold profile, obviously not understanding what he meant. He looked at her. Under the lights on both sides of the river, Su Qianxi clearly saw the deep meaning in his eyes. "You were not like this when you were with Louis Han." The sea breeze blew and the man's hair swayed gently. Li Xiqing narrowed his eyes, but his eyes were very firm, looking at her. Su Qianxi was caught off guard by his words. Her heart skipped a beat. Out of reflex she blurted out, "He is different. He is my good friend." "What about me?" He looked at her. "What am I?" Yes, what was he? Su Qianxi suddenly did not know how to define the man in front of her. Husband? But she clearly knew that it was impossible for them to be together, didn't she? She liked him and she loved him. However, there was still Tang Menjing between them, wasn't there? Husband? She was afraid that if she said this word, she would humiliate herself. Looking down, Su Qianxi was silent. Li Xiqing's eyes were cold. Seeing her obvious hesitation and thought, he couldn't help but feel depressed. He just wanted an identity in her heart. Was it really that hard? Su Qianxi's phone vibrated in her pocket, and a beautiful piano music rang. It was Elegy. Li Xiqing looked down and immediately saw 2 words, Ihan. No last name, just a simple name, Ihan. And his. If he remembered correctly, she didn't even have a name in the note she gave him. Instead, she gave him a word that could not be more unfamiliar, Mr. Li. Such a gap, such a treatment, Li Xiqing's heart sank. Su Qianxi did not notice his slight change and directly picked up the phone. Hello? Hey, I have good news for you. Our Qianlu has been chosen by a big company. Have you heard of Wanwei Technology? They are going to invest in us. Hearing that, Su Qianxi was dazed and then she was overwhelmed with ecstasy. Really then? Before Su Qianxi finished her words, she was pushed by a strong force and exclaimed. When she came back to herself, she had been pressed on the beach. Looking at him who suddenly pushed her down, she was inexplicably panicked. Her hands were tied behind her back, and one of her hands was still holding onto her phone. What's wrong, Qianqian? Where is he? Hello, hello? Louis Han's voice came from the microphone. She wanted to answer, but seeing his obviously unhappy face, her heart skipped a beat. She stammered, "Mr. Li, what's wrong?" Li Xiqing's eyes were always cold, but at this moment, there was unspeakable anger, as if it wanted to jump out, burn her and swallow her. Surprise. What was this man trying to do? Her hand hurt a little. She tried to move, but he pressed her even harder. "I am your husband. At least for now." The phone was snatched away, and after hanging up, it was thrown to the side. She frowned and exclaimed, "What are you doing?" The cold touch on her lips was smooth, her eyes widened, looking at the man in front of her incredulously. Panic, helplessness. What was he doing? In less than a second she realized what was going on and struggled. Chapter 172. Her legs were clamped by his firm and strong legs. Although they were separated by clothes, Su Qianxi could still clearly feel the strong lines of his body. His hot breath was on her face. Her lips were firmly kissed, and her hands were clipped above her head. She could not break free or escape. Li Xiqing's movements were a bit jerky as he pried her lips open, looking for her soft tongue. His movements were rough and a bit punishing. His kiss was extremely aggressive. Su Qianxi's hands and feet gradually became weak, and her breathing became shorter and shorter. Everything in front of her was white, and she could not tell north from south anymore. It seemed that her whole world was only her, only him. It felt like a century had passed. Su Qianxi felt a bit dizzy. When she was released, fresh air poured in, making her suddenly sober. Gasp! Su Qianxi gasped, having never tried to suffocate like this. Her heart was beating so fast that she almost thought she was flying. It was so crazy that it was scary. Li Xiqing's breathing was a bit rapid. His hands grasped her hands tightly, and he bent down to look at her. Her delicate facial features and porcelain skin seemed to be covered with a light layer of pink. Her black eyes seemed to be covered with a layer of mist, dazed and charming. Li Xiqing clamped her down, his eyes gleaming. His voice was low and hoarse as he said, "If another man were to treat you like this, would you obediently let him kiss you?" Li Xiqing's eyes were cold and his voice was low and hoarse. Su Qianxi suddenly felt humiliated and stopped breathing. She tried to lift her hands but was firmly held down by him, unable to move. Staring at his lustful eyes, Su Qianxi sneered, "What about you? You can be in heat for any woman who kisses you?" Li Xiqing's eyes narrowed slightly, and his face approached her. He said hoarsely, "Unfortunately, I have only been in heat for you. What about Tang Menjing?" Su Qianxi almost blurted out, but after saying it she wanted to bite her tongue off. Why did it sound so much like jealousy? God, she did not mean that. She really did not. Although she did find Tang Menjing disgusting and annoying, she was definitely not jealous. No. Seeing her obviously dodging regretful eyes, Li Xiqing curled his lips slightly, so light that she almost thought it was an illusion. "If I had any feelings for her, you wouldn't be able to marry into the Li family. Grandpa, who can force me to do something I don't want to do?" Su Qianxi's voice stopped, and her heart suddenly skipped a beat. Is he trying to explain to me? However, she clearly heard. Biting her lower lip, she gazed at him and said, "I clearly saw you and Tang Menjing kissing in the swimming pool at home." Swimming pool? Li Xiqing's eyes darkened. "You saw it?" "Yes, so you don't have to lie to me. Why would I lie to you?" Li Xiqing interrupted her, looking dangerous. "That time she did, but I pushed her away. I don't like her in the past, now and in the future." The powerful words made Su Qianxi speechless. Her first reaction was, he's lying to me. However, why would Li Xiqing lie to her? He was such a proud person that he would not lie to her, right? Chapter 173. Bang bang bang. The hurried knocking on the door made him pause. Bang bang bang. The knocking continued. Almost out of reflex, Su Qianxi pushed him away and covered herself with the quilt. Being suddenly pushed away, Li Xiqing felt even more uncomfortable. He growled coldly, "Who is it?" Bang bang bang. Su Qianxi blushed. Seeing Li Xiqing's obviously gloomy face, she said carefully, "Go open the door. Could it be Grandpa or us?" Li Xiqing's clothes were a bit messy, and his hair looked like a bird's nest. Hearing her words, he got out of bed, opened the door and froze the air around him. The waitress probably didn't expect to see such a person when she opened the door. Startled, she froze for a moment before stammering, "Mr. Li? Are you the grandson of the guest in room 389? The guest suddenly fainted. Before the waitress finished, Li Xiqing had already opened the door and rushed to room 389. When he arrived at the hospital, it was already past 10 p.m. Su Qianxi never knew that Captain Li had high blood pressure. However, it was the first time in her 2 lives that he had fainted because of high blood pressure. Fortunately, she only stayed with him for about half an hour before he woke up. She let out a sigh of relief, poured him a glass of water and fed it to him. Captain Li looked at his grandson, feeling a bit guilty. Li Xiqing also looked unfriendly. He said to Su Qianxi, "Go out for a second." Su Qianxi looked at Captain Li and then at Li Xiqing. These two people seemed a bit weird. However, seeing Captain Li's expression, Su Qianxi walked out and closed the door. After Su Qianxi left, Li Xiqing threw a stack of photos at Captain Li. In the photos, a man and a woman were kissing on the beach in a warm yellow light. Seeing the photos, Captain Li coughed in embarrassment. Blushing, he turned his head and closed his eyes to play dead. Seeing his expression, Li Xiqing felt a bit disdainful. "Is it necessary? You're so happy that you're having a heart attack?" When the old man heard this, his eyes widened. He was a little unconvinced. "Why do you think it's because of this? Can't I, your grandfather, be sad about something else?" Li Xiqing was silent. Looking at his angry look, he nodded. "Then I will pretend that I did not see that you sent someone to follow us and take pictures. I did not know that you secretly took our passports and deliberately arranged only one room for us." Old Master Li was speechless. "I say, kid, if it weren't for your grandfather, would you be where you are today? Would Qianqian forgive you? What a joke. Your grandson is tall and strong, he doesn't need your help. Besides, what kind of help was this?" He was so excited in the middle of the night that he fainted from high blood pressure. This was clearly a trap for his grandson. The piece of meat in his mouth flew away. Li Xiqing felt that he was still in pain from holding it in. "Lie down. You'll be discharged tomorrow." Hearing this, the old man was unhappy and turned around angrily. "Go away, I want Qianqian to come in." Then he yelled, "Hey Qianqian, there's no justice. The grandson is bullying the grandfather." Li Xiqing glanced at him with disdain and put the stack of photos back into the envelope. Hearing Grandpa's yell, Su Qianxi hurried in. Seeing the old man's look, she was dazed and looked at Li Xiqing. "What's wrong?" "I'm old." Li Xiqing walked out of the ward with a cold face. However, when he walked out of the door, he said, "I'll go get something to eat." After Li Xiqing walked out, Captain Li came over and asked mysteriously, "Did the boy just bully you?" "Bully?" Su Qianxi's face suddenly blushed. Seeing the ambiguous smile on Captain Li's face, it was clear that he already knew everything. "You made up?" Captain Li was a bit proud and snorted. "Husband and wife quarrel at the beginning and make up at the end. However, don't be too accommodating to the boy. I spoiled him too much. Now he is just a little gangster. The more you obey him, the more he bullies you." Su Qianxi chuckled and changed the topic. "Do you want some water?" When Li Xiqing came back, it was already half an hour later. Light Chinese food with porridge and side dishes was very suitable for a midnight snack. Old Master Li ate with relish and joked with Qianqian from time to time. However, Li Xiqing was even more unhappy. Captain Li was experienced and immediately saw through the expression on Li Xiqing's face. Insatiable. Chapter 174. He rushed into the bathroom and took a cold shower. When he came out, he found that Su Qianxi was already gone. The computer was on the bedside table and a chat box was open. It was Lu Yihan transferring a file to her. Judging from the name, it seemed to be an electronic contract. However, where was she? He found his cell phone and called Su Qianxi's cell phone, but it rang under the covers. Opening it, he took out his phone and hung up. Holding 2 phones in his hands, he felt a bit uneasy. Walking out of the room, he looked around and finally knocked on Grandpa's door. It was Su Qianxi who opened the door. Seeing her, Li Xiqing was relieved and looked even colder. "What are you doing here?" "Grandpa said he wanted to sunbathe. Shall we go sit on the beach after dinner?" Letting go of the doorknob, Li Xiqing walked in and helped Captain Li up with a smile. Old Master Li saw the unsatisfied look on his grandson's face and felt very sympathetic. He clicked his tongue and said, "You didn't sleep well, kid? If you don't want to go, I can go with Qianqian." "Let's go." The 3 of them casually ate something in the dining hall before accompanying the old man to the beach. They found a rattan chair and sat down. Then they chatted on and off. "Mr. Li?" A voice sounded a bit surprised. Seeing Li Xiqing, Xing Shiming knew that Su Qianxi must be here. Walking over, he saw the person he wanted to see. "Uncle Sheng," Su Qianxi said, also surprised. Seeing it was Xing Shiming, Li Xiqing narrowed his cold eyes. In an instant, there was a sense of danger in his eyes. He would never forget the way Xing Shiming looked at his wife. At his age he was totally old enough to be Su Qianxi's father. How could he want to be an old cow? Besides, it was Li Xiqing's grass. Looking at Li Xiqing's cold eyes, Xing Shiming turned around and said, "Yifan, come here. I see someone I know." "Yifan? Song Yifan? Mr. Song is here too?" Su Qianxi asked. Xing Shiming nodded with a smile and walked up to Li Xiqing. "Long time no see, Mr. Li. I didn't expect to see you here." "Oh, when I received your call a few days ago, I did not expect it either," Li Xiqing said coldly and shook his hand, his face expressionless. However, the smile on Xing Shiming's face was a bit awkward. The atmosphere was so awkward that it could not be dissolved. Song Yifan walked over and patted Xing Shiming on the shoulder. "What's wrong?" However, when he went further, he saw Li Xiqing, Su Qianxi, and the old man lying on the cane chair. Seeing the old man, Song Yifan greeted respectfully, "Captain Li." "What's you?" Obviously, Captain Li knew Song Yifan. What a coincidence. Song Yifan smiled. "Yes." Unfortunately, Xing Shiming had deliberately asked about Su Qianxi's whereabouts and then followed her. Of course, he also knew that Chief Li was there. "You know each other?" She looked at Captain Li and then at Song Yifan. "Yes, the son of an old comrade and an international pianist. We meet again." Song Yifan looked at Su Qianxi with a smile. Seeing Song Yifan for the second time, Su Qianxi was not as excited as the first time. However, seeing him smile at her, she was still flattered. She nodded and said, "Yes, what a coincidence." Chapter 175. Song Yifan was not surprised that Li Xiqing could know his whereabouts. With Li Xiqing's current ability, it was easy for him to track him down. Without hiding it, Song Yifan said, "I'm not in a good mood recently, so I came out for a vacation." "Is that so?" Li Xiqing looked at him with a faint smile. Song Yifan could clearly see the teasing look on his face. The atmosphere became awkward again. Xing Shiming quickly tried to smooth things over. "We're going to go to the other island. Do you want to join us?" "The other island?" "Yes, there are only 4 of us. If we can find more people, it should be very lively," Song Yifan said. "Yes, we are going fishing and barbecuing. We have prepared a lot of things. Do you want to join us?" Xing Shiming said and looked at Captain Li. "Captain Li, what do you think?" Old Master Li raised his eyelids. Basking in the sun lazily, he waved his hand. "This old man won't join in the fun. You young people should go have fun." Su Qianxi had a good impression of Xing Shiming. After all, in her previous lifetime he had helped her a lot. Even though the trajectory of development in this life was completely different. If she had not gone to him on purpose, their first meeting would have been more than a year later. However, Uncle Sheng was still very nice to her. Xing Shiming's warm invitation and his expectant eyes made Su Qianxi swallow the words of refusal she was about to say. She looked at Li Xiqing and asked, "Can I?" Li Xiqing squinted at her and then looked at Song Yifan. Song Yifan gave him a friendly smile. "Let's go together. If you want to go, let's go." Although it was short, Su Qianxi already had a smile on her face. Xing Shiming was overjoyed. He quickly called the others and took them to the boat. The small boat was not slow. However, when they arrived at the island, it was already more than 20 minutes later. There were no houses on the small island. There was a barbecue grill around, which was relatively clean. In addition to Xing Shiming and Song Yifan, there were 2 younger people in the group. They quickly took the things that they had prepared from the boat and set them up. Barbecue. Su Qianxi excitedly went up to help, and the lively young girl quickly talked to Su Qianxi. "Hey, what's your name?" "I'm Ah Duo, Lawyer Sheng's assistant. This is Ali, my boyfriend." "I am Su Qianxi." "Yes, I know. Do you have a good relationship with Lawyer Sheng?" "I've never seen him care so much about a girl. He's been helping you investigate your background and find your mother." Su Qianxi paused and looked at her. "You said that Uncle Sheng has been helping me find my mother?" Aduo didn't feel anything was wrong. She stuck the skewer into the food and said, "Yes, but it's too hard to find. I can only find your mother?" "Duo." Xing Shiming's voice sounded, "Can you get me a few bottles of drinks?" "He's here." Duo quickly went to the boat and walked down with a dozen beers in her left hand and a dozen juices in her right. However, when she was not far from Xing Shiming walked up to her and whispered, "Don't tell her that I'm investigating her background. It's a secret. And don't tell her what we're here for." Chapter 176. Every word of Aduo's mantra was internet slang. However, at this moment, even if Xing Shiming did not know about the internet, he knew what she meant. You said it? Aduo's eyes became evasive. She stuffed the beer and juice into his hand and ran away. Xing Shiming felt angry and amused at the same time, but he could not help but feel nervous. Looking at Su Qianxi, he noticed that she was also looking at him. There was curiosity in her eyes. She looked so much like her. However, the Su Qianxi in his memory was obviously more energetic and intelligent than her. However, he could not go back. He smiled at her and pretended to be calm as he walked over. He put down the drink in his hand and grabbed a big pile of charcoal to throw into the barbecue grill. Uncle Sheng. Yes. Xing Shiming looked up at her. My mother's name is Su Han. She couldn't bear it anymore. It was as if what she said was a very cruel thing. However, she knew how disappointed Xing Shiming would be after he failed to find out who she was. Instead of letting him fail, it was better for him to give up now. In her previous lifetime, she almost thought that she was his daughter. However, everything proved that she was still the illegitimate daughter of the Su family, the daughter of Su Han who had been missing for a long time. Xing Shiming was not a fool. He knew what she meant the moment he heard this. However, he still lowered his head and pretended not to hear it. He said, You seem to have a good relationship with him. Why do you want a divorce? Without any warning, Su Qianxi pursed her lips. Not wanting to embarrass him, she did not want to tell him the secret in her heart, so she simply bowed her head and continued to put food into the bamboo skewers. I think he is quite nice to you. If you do not hate him, it is not a bad idea to continue. Xing Shiming started the fire and said to himself, Such an excellent man is rarely so clean. Clean? Su Qianxi was a bit confused. You said Li Xiqing was clean? How was he clean? Before Su Qianxi could answer, she felt a force on her shoulder and a warm touch hit her. Turning her head, she saw a handsome face leaning against her shoulder. He put his arm around her waist and said in a cold voice, What are you talking about? Su Qianxi blushed and shrugged. Don't do that. It's heavy. Heavy? Li Xiqing put his chin directly on her shoulder and slightly tilted his head, feeling his warm breath on her face. Su Qianxi only felt that her face was burning, and every part of her body was itchy and numb, which was very uncomfortable. Then why didn't you say I was heavy when I pressed you down just now? Li Xiqing tilted his head and whispered, his voice low and magnetic. Accompanied by his hot breath, Su Qianxi only felt her head buzzing and her body trembling, almost going soft. Was that something Li Xiqing would say? Too much of a hooligan. This was completely different from the serious and indifferent Li Xiqing in her memory. Could it be that this was his true face? When he pressed down on her just now, driving without saying a word is too dirty. However, when she turned her head and saw Li Xiqing's serious face, she immediately swallowed the words that were on the tip of her tongue. Chapter 177. Guilty conscience, guilty conscience, guilty conscience. She subconsciously tightened her arms and legs, looking up at Xing Shiming. Xing Shiming didn't hear what they were talking about, but seeing her blushing face, he knew that it might not be something suitable for him to hear. Seeing her nervous and embarrassed eyes, he immediately lowered his head and pretended not to see it. Why is your face so red? As if he did not know what he had said, he reached out and touched her face. It's so hot. Are you not feeling well? Go away. She turned her head and glared at him, blushing even more. With a faint smile, Li Xiqing quickly let go of her, washed his hands and helped her put on the food. She was a bit surprised. It turned out that Li Xiqing could do this kind of work? She stared at him for a while and found that he looked much better in the clothes than she did. Song Yifan also walked over and asked, I heard that the Li Financial Group is preparing for a cocktail party and is looking for a suitable band. Have they found one? Cocktail party? She looked up at Li Xiqing. Your company is having a cocktail party again? How come she did not know about it? The so-called cocktail party of the Li Financial Group must be of a large scale. The amount of manpower and financial resources required was remarkable. Every time it was held, it was definitely because there was a new project being launched or there was an important announcement being made. However, she did not remember such a thing in her previous lifetime. Was she wrong? Not the company. Li Xiqing did not look up. For you. For me. She felt flattered. What? A press conference. He stopped and looked at her. A woman of the Li family will meet people sooner or later. A woman of the Li family. His words were light as a feather, but they made her heart flutter. Su Qianxi looked at Li Xiqing's handsome face, cold and hard, but at this moment she was inexplicably tempted. A woman of the Li family. Had she been acknowledged? Not just because her grandfather liked her, not just because she thought too highly of herself, but because she was truly recognized as a woman of the Li family? Moreover, he had specially organized a large-scale cocktail party for her. This kind of treatment, this kind of surprise, was something he had never experienced in his previous life. Her heart seemed to be tightly twisted at this moment, and her little face was also a little red from excitement. She asked, "Is this Grandpa's idea?" "Yes." Li Xiqing responded indifferently, but when he looked around, he clearly saw the disappointment in her eyes. "He asked me to hold a meet and greet." Therefore, the cocktail party was actually his own idea. However, Su Qianxi did not understand. Slightly disappointed, she said, "Got it." Li Xiqing gave her a deep look and did not explain. He turned to Song Yifan and said, "Not yet. If your band is interested, we can talk." "Yes, when?" Number 15. Oh. Su Qianxi was a bit nervous. "So sudden? Doesn't that mean it won't be long?" "Yes, the sooner the better." He couldn't wait any longer. He wanted to tell the world that she was his wife. At that time, no matter how reluctant she was destined to be labeled as Li Xiqing's wife. Chapter 178. "Okay, I'll do it. Didn't you say you were going fishing? The hooks are ready. Let's go." Adwa came over and took all the work, shoving a few fishing rods into her hands. However, she did not dare to look at Xing Shiming, fearing that he would blame her. Fortunately, after Xing Shiming took the fishing rods, he did not say anything. He picked up the bucket and took Su Qianxi to the boat. Su Qianxi looked a bit excited. Putting down the things, she trotted over with Xing Shiming. However, when she was about to get on the boat, she was pulled back by a big hand. Li Xiqing looked cold. Seeing her confused look, he said, "Slow down." Then he got on the boat first and reached out his hand to her. "Oh." Su Qianxi stuck her tongue out and slowed down. She took his hand and walked up. Song Yifan saw that and felt relieved. Soon he got on the boat as well. The small boat slowly moved to the middle of the sea and stopped. Xing Shiming was a good fisherman, which Su Qianxi had always known. However, in less than 10 minutes, there were already 2 fish in his bucket, and Li Xiqing, not a single one. Holding the fishing rod, Su Qianxi sat there seriously, peeking at Li Xiqing and then at Song Yifan. Neither of them had caught any fish, but obviously, Li Xiqing was much calmer than Song Yifan. Seeming to notice her gaze, he glanced over, calm and indifferent. Su Qianxi stuck her tongue out at him and quickly turned her head to stare at the calm sea. Just where she did not see, there was a gentle smile in Li Xiqing's cold eyes. About 10 minutes later, Su Qianxi felt a bit restless. When she was thinking about leaving, the fishing rod suddenly moved. Opening her eyes in surprise, Su Qianxi was excited. "I got it. Mr. Li, look, I got it." Seeing that she was as excited as a child, Li Xiqing curled his lips and grabbed her fishing rod. "The fish is going to escape." "Oh, right." Su Qianxi quickly reeled in the line. The fish was struggling, splashing water on them. "Mr. Li?" Song Yifan looked up. His eyes, which had always been gentle, became sharp at this moment. "Aren't you husband and wife?" Hearing that, Su Qianxi's heart skipped a beat, and the smile on her face froze. Inexplicably, she felt guilty. Husband and wife. Are they husband and wife? Although their relationship had eased recently, this word was still so distant for Su Qianxi. Married couple. It was as if she had stolen it. She did not feel comfortable using the title of Li Xiqing's wife. But he did admit it, didn't he? He seemed to like her, didn't he? Subconsciously, he looked at Li Xiqing. Li Xiqing also paused. Seeing Su Qianxi's stiff face, his eyes darkened. But very quickly, he calmly removed the hook and placed it on the small bucket beside her. He calmly said, "It's just a form of address, but you have to change it in the future. Don't let outsiders misunderstand." "Yes, it's just a form of address." She nodded. "I see." Looking at Su Qianxi's face, Song Yifan was dazed. After a few seconds he said, "With all due respect, Miss Su, you look a lot like a friend of mine." Chapter 179. Don't get me wrong. That friend of mine is only 2 years younger than me and she is gone. Song Yifan's eyes dimmed. "Rong Xian?" Su Qianxi asked. In the past, when she and Xing Shiming were very close, this was the name that came out of his mouth the most. However, he called her Xian. If she guessed correctly, this woman should not only be Xing Shiming's first love, but also Song Yifan's ex-girlfriend. Their relationship was a bit complicated, however, it was clear that the reason why they had a falling out was because of this dead Rongxian. Song Yifan was dazed. How do you know? He looked at Xing Shiming. Xing Shiming was also surprised to hear the name from Su Qianxi and looked over. Seeing their gazes, Su Qianxi knew that she had guessed correctly. She coughed and said, Uncle Xing mentioned this name by accident once and I remembered it. Really? I mentioned it? Xing Shiming felt a bit strange. For him and Song Yifan this name was an untouchable memory. There was no reason for him to tell her. However, if he did not expose it, how did she know? Yes, I did. Su Qianxi felt a bit guilty and quickly changed the topic. I really want to see how much she looks like me. When Uncle Xing saw me for the first time, he also said that I look like her. Her laughter was a bit forced and Li Xiqing couldn't stand it anymore. He pulled her to his side and whispered, Have I told you that you're not good at lying? Su Qianxi blushed and said, I did not lie. She really did not lie. She had heard it from Xing Shiming, just not in this lifetime. Fortunately, Xing Shiming and Song Yifan did not care about that. Song Yifan smiled, took out his wallet from his pocket and opened it, revealing an old-fashioned color photo. It looked a bit old and the photo was slightly yellow. However, it was well preserved and the photo was very clear. There were two people in the photo, a man and a woman. The man was gentle, handsome and tall. The woman was smiling, wearing a light yellow dress and a yellow floral hat. She was holding the man's arm and looking forward. The face under the hat was very similar to Su Qianxi's. At first glance, Su Qianxi thought it was her. He widened his eyes and took a closer look. Only then did he notice a slight difference in his facial features. Rongxian's nose was taller while hers was smaller. Rongxian's lips were a little thick, and her smile was sexy and cute. Her lips, on the other hand, were smaller and thinner. Touching her lips, she looked up at Song Yifan. However, when she looked up, she saw that he was looking at her warmly. Deep in his eyes, there was an indescribable meaning. This is Xian, a photo from 22 years ago. At that time, she and I almost registered for marriage, but after this photo was taken, she disappeared. Song Yifan looked at her and said sadly, 2 years later, her body was found in a mountain in the 100,000 mountain. 22 years ago, Su Qianxi's heart was beating fast. She was almost 21 years old. In addition, that face was extremely similar to his. Could it really be such a coincidence? Chapter 180. But that was impossible. Her mother was Su Han. Moreover, back then, Su Han had been abducted to the 100,000 mountains and, after that, she had given birth to her, hadn't she? Although Su Qianxi did not want to admit it, her biological father was most likely a dark and ugly mountain man who could not find a wife, so he sold women to reproduce. How did it become Song Yifan now? As Su Qianxi's heart was pounding, Song Yifan continued, However, you were sent to the orphanage 3 years later, and the woman who sent you there was Rongxian. That was to say, Rongxian was not dead? Are you sure? Yes, I am very sure. Song Yifan looked at her. These days I have done a thorough investigation. You are the child, but he was not sure if she was his child. The probability of this happening was too small, too small? You suspect that she is your daughter? Li Xiqing asked for him. Song Yifan was silent, and so was Xing Shiming. It was not so much suspicion, or rather hope. He hoped that Su Qianxi was his and Rongxian's child, or rather he hoped that he and Rongxian had a child. She had left and had not returned for 22 years. He had waited and thought for too long. God knew how surprised he was when Xing Shiming hurriedly called him back from abroad to tell him the news. He wished he could take her to the hospital for a paternity test. But now he did not dare to do that. He was afraid that if she was not his daughter, hey! Aduo's voice came from the coast. The barbecue is ready. Come back and eat. Xing Shiming responded to Aduo and quickly said to them, Let's go. Let's not talk about this anymore. We are all out on vacation. Let's go. The boat returned to the coast. Aduo and Ali kept showing off their affection, while Su Qianxi was a bit worried because of what Song Yifan had just said. She did not eat much and left with Li Xiqing. Back at the hotel, it was already past 6 p.m. Su Qianxi sat on the bed thinking about what Song Yifan had just said. Don't think too much. He is not your father. Li Xiqing handed her a glass of warm water, his voice still cold. What? She looked up. How did you know? I guessed. But I think the possibility is very high. What should I do? That Rongxian really looks like me. Don't you think? Yes, but she's not Su Han. I know, she had seen Suhan's photo before. At that time she felt that she looked different from Suhan. She thought that she looked like her father. But now that she thought about it, her unpopularity in the Su family and her uncle's distant attitude towards her. She originally thought that it was because she hadn't grown up with them and wasn't close to them. But now that she thought about it, perhaps they already knew that she wasn't Suhan's daughter. In other words, it had nothing to do with them. That was why they hated and distanced themselves from him, right? She suddenly felt that her life was full of mysteries. Suhan, Rongxian, Song Yifan, Shiwan Mountain. Don't even think about it. Whether your mother is Rongxian or Suhan, a woman who can throw such a young child into an orphanage is not a good mother. And a man who can't even protect his wife can't be a good father. Su Qinxi heard that and nodded. So you don't need parents. You just need to know that you have a good husband. Wan Lily, Chan, how does it feel to be liked by the man you've had a crush on for 2 lifetimes? Su Qinxi, it feels like a dream. Chapter 181. You just need to know that you have a good husband and you can. Good husband. Su Qinxi suddenly understood and looked up at him. She thought that these 2 words were so far away. But now, her husband was right in front of her, in the same room as her. There was no disgust or rejection. He was still him, indifferent, noble and unparalleled. He told her that she had a good husband. Her eyes were slightly wet, and Su Qinxi suddenly felt the satisfaction of years of obsession coming true. The surprise came too fast, too sudden, and she had not fully accepted it. Li Xiqing saw her slightly wet eyes and his eyes darkened. He said in a low voice, "Seducing me?" He reached out and took away the cup of warm water in her hand. Li Xiqing squeezed his thigh between hers and pushed her down. Su Qinxi was shocked. Facing his burning eyes, she timidly said, I did not. How did she seduce him? She clearly did not do anything. Seeing her scared look, the heat in his eyes gradually faded. He pulled her up and asked, "Why are you afraid of me?" Every single time he could see the frightened look on her face. At first he thought it was quite fun. But later he found that she was not pretending but really scared. Was he scary? Or could it be that he had done something so outrageous that she would be so afraid when she saw him? I did not. Su Qinxi weakly denied. Li Xiqing saw her averting eyes and looked away. His voice was a bit cold as he said, I don't want to have a wife with a heart disease when I'm not old yet. That's right. Su Qinxi was a bit confused, looking at him with her dark eyes. So, don't be afraid of me. Su Qinxi blushed, unable to suppress the happiness, and nodded. Okay, it was the first time that Li Xiqing had seen such a delicate look. It turned out that she was like this. So beautiful. Holding the back of her head with his big hand, he took her lips in his mouth and sucked on them gently. Su Qinxi's heart was pounding and her body was a bit weak. Soon she fell onto the bed. With the weight of 2 people, the soft bed gently shook. Gently and awkwardly, she put her arms around his waist and closed her eyes. She was so nervous that she trembled. Li Xiqing noticed her response and a hint of desire flashed in his eyes. He leaned down and deepened the kiss that he had only intended to kiss her lightly. His kiss was wanton and unrestrained. He easily pried open her lips and teeth and deeply captured her little tongue that had curled up in fear. He sucked on it firmly and hugged her even tighter with his arms. But very quickly he let go of her, his breathing a little hurried. Breathe, idiot. Su Qinxi felt a little suffocated. Hearing that, she let out a sigh of relief and took a deep breath. Her cheeks were pink and her pitch-black eyes were watery as she looked at him. Loose strands of hair fell from her forehead, and her black hair and fair face formed a strong visual impact. Naked seduction. Li Xiqing only felt a spark suddenly rising. With the rise and fall of the breath of the person under him, it gradually turned into a raging fire, out of control. Lowering his head, he kissed her lips again, but this time he was not satisfied with just a kiss. Chapter 182. Feeling his big hand lifting the hem of her dress, she suddenly woke up and pressed his big hand. Li Xiqing paused and looked up at her, breathing a little fast. His wet red lips looked wild and tempting. He slightly stuck out his tongue and licked them. Su Qinxi suddenly felt her head buzzing and couldn't help but clamp her legs. However, they were tightly wrapped around his strong thighs. Li Xiqing's reaction was even more intense. Su Qinxi could clearly see the desire on his face. Blushing, she said in a low voice, Mr. Li, don't do red light challenge? Li Xiqing was dazed for a second, but soon realized what she meant. His red lips were tightly pursed. His soft face suddenly became tense and restrained. He gritted his teeth and said, "Why do women have this thing?" Su Qianxi said, "Without this thing we can't have children." Hearing that, Li Xiqing's expression softened a little. He looked down and said, "Yes, for our children." Our children. Su Qianxi thought of the child who died before she had time to discover it and felt a bit sad. Li Xiqing glanced at her face and continued calmly, "I want 2 children, a girl and a boy. Together they make up a good family. How can you have whatever you want? Now we have family planning. The 2-child policy has been implemented. You can have 2 children. But up until now they hadn't done anything. Could it be that he was thinking too early? Besides, she was still in school. She did not want to drop out of school because of pregnancy and end up being despised by everyone like in her previous lifetime. That feeling was really not good. I feel so bad. Li Xiqing looked like he was trying to hold back. Holding her hand, he touched his lower body. Su Qianxi was burned through his pants. She quickly closed her eyes and looked away. Go take a shower. When I'm better then, do it again. However, was this an invitation? Would he think that she was too unreserved? However, it seemed that she had no other choice. She wanted to urge him to hurry up and take a shower, but her little hand was held again. Her fingers were pinched, holding a small metal object. With a slight sound, she heard the sound of a belt buckle being unbuckled. Startled, she opened her eyes and saw him holding her hand to help pull up the zipper of his pants. "Ah, you, help me, wifey." The casual title hit her heart, the softest part. He took off his casual shirt, revealing a pair of dark boxer shorts. In the middle of his pants there was a huge bulge hidden, full of explosive power. Ah! She quickly closed her eyes and turned her head, not daring to look at him. How terrifying! How did she get in with such an exaggerated thing? Her part. Wasn't it crushed? He bent down and stroked her hand down, whispering, "Good girl, open your eyes." She shook her head again and again, insisting on not opening her eyes. The warmth from her palm made her heart beat faster. Chapter 183. Su Qianxi did not dare to open her eyes, but the burning sensation on her hand made her blush. Quietly, she opened her eyes a little. Through her blurry vision, she saw his neat upper body. Li Xiqing's face was covered with a thin layer of sweat, and the blue veins on his temples were throbbing. "Sit up." Su Qianxi's head buzzed and she closed her eyes again, not wanting to look at him. Where was he supposed to be aloof and noble? Why was he so promiscuous now? He wanted her to help him with her hand? That was so exciting. Su Qianxi could not accept it. However, her hand was held by him and she could not get rid of it. She clearly felt her hand being pulled away from the thin layer of cloth. Something suddenly popped out and hit her hand. The scorching heat made her want to escape subconsciously. However, he grabbed her hand and gently led her hand to hold that. The room was full of charm. When it ended, it was almost 8 o'clock, and the sky outside was completely dark. Su Qianxi felt her hand was so sore that it was about to break. She looked at him with tears in her eyes and pursed her lips. He gave her a deep kiss on the corner of her lips before he walked into the bathroom. Su Qianxi's hand was sore and painful. Seeing the mess on the bed, she called the internal line for room service. After changing the sheets, he had already walked out of the bathroom. His body was hot and wet, but his temperament was cold. Su Qianxi saw him and blushed again. She lowered her head and was about to run into the bathroom. Li Xiqing curled his lips and pulled her back. She became even more nervous and turned her head to look at him. What's wrong? Let's go eat later. Yeah. She blushed and threw his hand away, walking into the bathroom. After the shower, she found that she did not bring any clothes. She struggled in front of the mirror for a moment before weakly opening the door a little. She called out, Mr. Li, can you get me a set of clothes? There was no response. Was he not there? She called again, Mr. Li? After the second sound, there was finally a slight noise outside. Li Xiqing's cold voice came over. Change the way you address me. Hearing that name, she paused and thought for a moment. Li Xiqing? Xiqing? Still not enough? Then there was only that left. Su Qianxi blushed and said in a low voice, Honey, I didn't hear you. The voice was a little lazy, and there seemed to be a hint of a smile in it. Su Qianxi blushed even more and summoned her courage. Honey. What are you doing? Help me get some clothes. Before he could finish his words, a large hand holding a set of clothes stuffed into the room. She had a white dress and underwear, and on top of that there was a sanitary pad, she was so embarrassed that she wanted to die. Hiding at the door, she grabbed the clothes and slammed the door shut. Li Xiqing laughed. It seemed that this feeling was pretty good. After cleaning herself up, she went downstairs. Grandpa was already sitting in the dining room reading the newspaper and eating. Qian, Grandpa ordered your favorite steak for you. Thank you, Grandpa. Su Qianxi picked up the knife and fork, but found that her right hand was a bit numb, and the knife suddenly slipped from her hand. The knife fell on the glass table, making a crisp sound. Grandpa was startled. What's wrong? Chapter 184. Su Qianxi blushed even more. Lowering her head, she picked up the knife and pinched his thigh with her other hand. Li Xiqing did not move, as if he did not feel the pain. He calmly asked the waiter to change the knife for her. Why are your hands sore all of a sudden? Captain Li was puzzled. In the afternoon, eat. Su Qianxi grabbed a piece of bread and stuffed it into his mouth. She couldn't have looked more guilty. Old Master Li was also an experienced person. Seeing her like that, he knew that his grandson must have done something terrible. His pair of old eyes glanced at the young couple in front of him and he chuckled. Inexplicably, Su Qianxi felt blood rushing to her head, and her brain was buzzing. What did Grandpa mean? Could it be that he could even know what it meant? So embarrassing. Li Xiqing took a bite of the bread in his mouth and continued, we went to the barbecue in the afternoon. It's inevitable that we are a bit tired. Oh. Captain Li looked enlightened and looked at Su Qianxi. It's just a barbecue. Why are you so shy? Did something happen during the barbecue? Nothing happened during the barbecue, but after the barbecue, Su Qianxi silently lowered her head and cut the steak. However, her right hand was a bit sore and weak. After a long time, she only cut a few small pieces. He took the steak in front of her and handed it to her. His voice was cold and extremely calm. Eat more to replenish your strength. We'll continue tonight. Su Qianxi nodded. Let's continue. Su Qianxi's hand trembled and almost dropped the fork. Facing Grandpa's curious gaze, she awkwardly stretched out her leg and kicked him. Continue at night. Continue my ass. You're F***king having fun, but my hands are so sore. Li Xiqing's expression did not change. Looking at Grandpa, who was eager to gossip, he said, Don't get involved in young people's business. Are you full? No. Captain Li said, Even if you don't tell me, I know. Then let's eat. Okay. After the meal, Su Qianxi did not dare to speak again. After eating, Grandpa expressed his interest in night fishing. The two accompanied their grandfather to go fishing. After playing for more than an hour, the old man was a little tired. After sending Grandpa back to his room, when he was about to open the door, Su Qianxi had already slipped away. Su Qianxi thought he did not notice her, turned around and walked away quietly. Why are you running? An indifferent and cold voice sounded, causing her back to stiffen. Go back to sleep, it's late. In the end he added, just sleep. Oh. Su Qianxi blushed and walked back, saying, In fact, I just want to see what else is fun, not run away. Yes, I believe you. Li Xiqing's lips curled slightly, but it was so faint that she did not notice it at all. Hearing what he said, she felt even more embarrassed. As soon as the door opened, she went straight into the bathroom. After washing up and changing into pajamas, she went around Li Xiqing and lay on the bed, covering her head with the blanket. Before she knew it, she fell asleep. She did not know how long she had slept, but her body felt like it was on fire. A fire was burning on her body. Occasionally it would burn her waist, her face, her chest, and her legs. Wan Lily, Qian, be careful. Don't sleep too deeply with a man. Don't sleep too deeply. Don't sleep too deeply. Chapter 185. She opened her eyes in a daze. The room was so dark that there was no light at all. An arm was draped over her upper body, which made her arm a bit numb. She turned her body slightly, moved his arm away, and turned over to look at his deep and distinct facial features. Li Xiqing was breathing evenly, looking like he was sleeping soundly. She reached out and touched the tip of his nose. Her fingertips slowly slid up, down the bridge of his nose, to his eyes, his eyebrows, and finally his eyelashes. Li Xiqing's eyelashes were very long. He had never used eyeliner, but his eyelashes were dark and fascinating. Although the light was dim, Su Qianxi could still see his thick eyeliner and long eyelashes with his eyes closed. Looking down, her fingertip also fell on his lips. It was slippery, thin, and tender. It feels so good. Su Qianxi murmured. When she took her hand away, she saw his lips slightly curled up. Su Qianxi was shocked and quickly closed her eyes, pretending to be asleep. Li Xiqing opened his eyes, dark and bright. He did not look like he was asleep at all. Seeing Su Qianxi pretending to be asleep, he tightened his arms and whispered in her ear, "It tastes good. Do you want to confirm it?" Su Qianxi's hand under the quilt suddenly grabbed the bedsheet. She felt like she had been caught doing something bad. Whatever, she was asleep and did not hear it. Seeing that she did not respond, Li Xiqing whispered again, "Asleep?" Then he moved away slightly. Su Qianxi let out a sigh of relief, but before she could completely relax, she felt a weight on her and was kissed on her lips. She suddenly opened her eyes and saw that Li Xiqing had laid back down, eyes closed, and did not say a word. Su Qianxi was too shy to show her face. Slightly moving away from him, she wanted to stay away from him, but Li Xiqing's arms tightened even more, and his thighs pinned her in his arms. "Be quiet when you sleep." Li Xiqing said this without blushing or panting. His big hand quickly moved from her shoulder to her waist. Su Qianxi suddenly realized that the fire she had felt in her sleep had come from this. He curled his lips and muttered, "I wonder who's the dishonest one. I can be even more dishonest." Hearing Li Xiqing's cold voice, she immediately became quiet, closed her eyes and let him hold her, not daring to move. Su Qianxi's sleep had always been fast, and she soon fell asleep again. She did not notice that the man next to her was suffering until dawn. As soon as he woke up, he received a call from Kingstown. It was Louis Han. Glancing at Li Xiqing, who was still asleep, she silently walked into the bathroom to answer the phone. "Hello. Qianqian, when are you coming back? What's the date today?" 6. "Oh, tomorrow. What's wrong?" "Big news, the day after tomorrow is Lin Wanting's wedding. Did you know?" "Oh, number 8, right? I know. She sent me an invitation a long time ago. Do you want to go?" "Why should I go? You Lily said that she would definitely go. She asked me to inform you and pull you along." "Okay, I won't go." Last time, if she had not reacted fast enough, she would have been treated like that by Ding Haiba. Why should she give face to such a person? She knew very well how valuable the title of Mrs. Li was. "I see. One more thing about your husband." Chapter 186. Well. Louis Han stuttered, as if he was too embarrassed to speak. Louis Han rarely acted like this. Could it be that he had discovered Li Xiqing's secret? Su Qianxi felt uneasy and yelled, "Speak. I heard that your husband is going to host a cocktail party and will invite a lot of big names and famous people." "I was thinking." Hearing that, Su Qianxi let out a sigh of relief. "I thought it was something big. Just a small thing?" "A small thing, yeah. For him and his company, it was a big thing for the rest of his life. If he could attend, even if he just showed his face, it would be a great honor. Moreover, he was going to do more than just show his face. If he could pull in an investment or make a friend, he would be able to rise to the top easily." Although Louis Han was a nerd, he had a high EQ and had always been good at socializing. Maybe he could really fool some people. "I see. I will send you an invitation." Su Qianxi chuckled. "Did you know that this cocktail party is actually my meeting?" "Grandpa. He did it for me." Louis Han gasped on the other end of the phone. "What the hell? Did it for you? Such a big cocktail party? Just for you to meet him?" Su Qianxi blinked and asked, "Is it very big?" "Of course. From international well-known enterprises to large domestic companies, there are also many well-known figures in other fields, such as Kingstown's new IT expert Luo Zhan, or City C's young master O Ming, or the representative of the music family such as." "So big." Su Qianxi really had no idea. Thinking of what had happened yesterday, she said, "If we can also invite Song Yifun's band, will it be even bigger?" "Song Yifun's band?" "Onji." Louis Han exclaimed. "That is not a band that can be hired with money. Your husband is so awesome. It's just so." Although she said that, she had already curled her lips and looked into the mirror. The girl in the mirror was dressed in a white silk nightgown, and her eyes were tinged with pride and satisfaction, as well as happiness. She was dazed and quickly looked at herself in the mirror, but she still felt so happy. F***ck. Louis Han was a little angry. "I don't care. I have to go that day. I want to announce to the world that Mrs. Li is a good friend of my Louis Han. It's only worthwhile to get some attention from her." "Fine, I'll let you rub." She chuckled. "That's enough. I need to freshen up. Bye." Bye-bye. After hanging up the phone, washing up and going out, it was almost 9 o'clock. Sitting on the bed, Li Xiqing had a cigarette between his long fingers. A third of the ash had been burned and it was hanging down. She quickly took the ashtray and waved her long finger in front of him. What's wrong? Li Xiqing looked up, his eyes cold and sharp. Who are you talking to? Su Qianxi was caught off guard and knew that he must have thought too much. She explained, it's Louis Han. So honest? Li Xiqing was a bit surprised and looked at her. You should know that he and I developed a music software together. He wants to attend the party on the 15th on behalf of our company. Is that okay? You want him to come? He is my good friend. Of course I want him to come. Chapter 187. Are you sure we are just good friends? These words were obviously not quite right. Su Qianxi's heart skipped a beat. She leaned over and put her hands on his shoulders. What do you think is my relationship with him? Li Xiqing was speechless. He still cared about the green hat last time. Therefore, when she had a miscarriage, he deliberately let Louis Han spend time with her alone. Although he felt sad and did not feel good, he had helped them, right? Hearing her question, Li Xiqing did not speak. He slowly put the cigarette to his lips, took a puff and slowly exhaled the white smoke. I have not had many friends since I was a kid. Yeah. He knew that with her IQ and EQ, it would be impossible for her to have any friends. I used to think that Lu Anan was a good friend, but she ruined everything. That was something that happened in her previous life. Only in this life did she realize that what she thought was what she thought. It wasn't real. I used to think that Lin Wanting was my good friend. Later I realized how silly I was. Indeed, it was quite silly. Those two people didn't look like good people at first glance. Li Xiqing's cold eyes glanced over. Only Louis Han was my classmate in middle school and high school. We were desk mates for many years and he has always been nice to me. His indifferent eyes gradually became cold and sinister. Su Qianxi's heart raced and she said nervously, but, friendship is everything and we are not yet lovers? Friendship is everything and we are not yet lovers. Who could guarantee that? Their relationship was really too good. If you do not like him, I will try to keep a distance from him. Su Qianxi felt wronged and looked at him carefully. In the future, except for work, try not to have anything to do with him. How about that? He put out the cigarette and squinted at her. He is not yet lovers. What about me? Well? Su Qianxi looked at his face, pretended to hesitate and giggled. You are not yet lovers. Li Xiqing smiled, put his arms around her waist and let her sit on his lap. Kiss me. But you have not brushed your teeth yet. Dislike. Seeing his dangerous and threatening eyes, Su Qianxi couldn't resist him and kissed him on the lips. That's it? What else? This is a kiss, not a kiss. Su Qianxi blushed. Thinking of how he kissed her, she slowly leaned over and gently kissed his lips. His lips, thin, cool and smooth, the texture was really good. He sucked lightly, his movements jerky and careful. However, it made Li Xiqing very uncomfortable. His large hands grabbed her head and forcefully deepened the kiss. He pried open her lips and teeth, robbing all the air in her mouth. It was rare that Su Qianxi did not struggle at all. She put her arms around his neck and responded. However, this jerky movement was more like a spark that lit the fuse. Just as he was about to lose control, he abruptly stopped. She gasped, looking at him with a blushing face and blurred eyes. He kissed the corner of her lips and said, I'll take you to play something fun later. Fun? Yes, although not as fun as sex. Chapter 188. Li Xiqing said it was fun and it was really exciting and fun. The breeze blew her hair and her long, straight hair was tied up. Blushing, she stared down. Looking down from the sky, she felt that her whole body was shaking, but it was also exciting. What should we do? Will we fall to our deaths? What if we fall to our deaths? Li Xiqing curled his lips and said calmly, No, I will be the last one for you. A staff member standing next to him asked, Are you ready? Yes. Brave girl, protect the good lady, sir. Li Xiqing turned his face and saw her excited and scared face. His heart softened and he said, Yes. I'm so scared. It's so exciting, Mr. Li. What did you call me? Honey. Su Qianxi did not dare to open her eyes, and the horrible feeling of falling made her extremely uneasy. Her body trembled even more and she did not dare to open her eyes. Wow. A faint sound was heard, and the two of them were caught in mid-air, reducing the extent of their fall. A big hand held her arm and a cold and magnetic voice came to her ear. "Don't be afraid, I'm here." This voice had an inexplicable soothing power. Su Qianxi's body gradually stopped shaking, and she opened her eyes boldly. Turning her head, she saw the man next to her against the light. Still cold, still calm. His face was so calm that it seemed that he was not flying in the sky. Feeling a bit embarrassed, she did not know how much impact her appearance had on the seemingly calm man in front of her. Her delicate and pretty little face, in the broken mottled sunlight, seemed to be plated with a layer of golden light, sacred and white, inviolable. One glance, 10,000 years. Su Qianxi looked away from his burning eyes and soon her eyes lit up, shouting excitedly, "It's so beautiful. Look, look." Li Xiqing looked away and with a shallow smile, his eyes fell on the beautiful scenery that amazed her. The winding mountain range, the blue sea and the blue sky, the seagulls flapping their wings, flying against the wind with their backs to them. The faint white hazy fog obstructed their vision, covering the already majestic and boundless world with a layer of mystery. This was a majestic sight that could not be described by all the thick brush strokes and ink in Wuxia. At this moment, everything was under their feet. It was beautiful. Li Xiqing replied, "Yes, it is." However, no matter how great the rivers and mountains were, they were not as good as a beauty's smile. Su Qianxi did not hear his voice, looking down in fascination. This was the first time she had seen such scenery. In both her past and present lives, this was the first time she had traveled, and this was the first time she had experienced such magnificence. What was even more unexpected was that the person next to her was Li Xiqing. If it was in the past, he wouldn't even dare to dream about it. But now, unknowingly, it had become a reality. "Wifey?" His voice was low and mellow, and it was blown into her ears by the wind. Su Qianxi was still a bit unfamiliar with this form of address. Dazed for 2 seconds, she suddenly came to herself and turned to look at him. But before she could take a closer look, her red lips were sealed. The ice-cold sensation caused her to widen her eyes in disbelief. "High in the sky, kiss? One Lily, these chapters are so sweet that my heart is about to explode. Do you like it?" Li Xiqing, "Yes." Chapter 189. Suddenly, a light flashed in front of her. Su Qianxi blinked and saw it was a drone. It seemed to have been taken. So embarrassing. However, being kissed in the air was so exciting. Su Qianxi's heart was pounding, and she felt that her body was falling. Gradually, she landed on a large open space, and the parachute on top of her head was covering her. However, Li Xiqing still had no intention of letting go. Licking her pink lips with the tip of his tongue, Li Xiqing smacked his lips and slowly began to take off the equipment. And Su Qianxi blushed and stood there, not knowing what to do for a moment. "Good." A foreigner walked over with a tablet. "This is so romantic." Su Qianxi looked at the tablet. On the screen, a man was kissing a woman, and the woman widened her eyes and looked incredulous. The photo slid down and the woman's face became redder and redder. Su Qianxi blushed even more and said, "How can you take photos? This is a feature of our tribe. We will use drones to capture your reactions and status at any time in case of accidents. At the same time, we will record every beautiful moment for you." Li Xiqing reached out and took off the equipment for Su Qianxi, then looked at the foreigner. "Can you give me the photos?" "No. They are so ugly. Delete them." Su Qianxi looked at herself in the photos. Several of them were completely distorted and ugly. How could such a photo be left behind? However, the foreigner ignored Su Qianxi's protest and looked directly at Li Xiqing. "Of course, but there is a charge. Which one do you want?" "All of them." The foreigner was overjoyed. There were at least a few thousand photos in this set of photos from the top to the bottom. The price was very expensive. It was not that he had never met rich people before, but this man did not even ask before taking all of them. This was the first time. Okay, then wait a moment. I will print out the photos for you, but there are a lot of photos so it may take a while. Leave your address and I will send them to you after I print them. Li Xiqing nodded and wrote down his hotel room number on the tablet. Su Qianxi pouted, feeling a bit depressed. What a terrible photographer. He made her look so ugly. Seeing her expression, Li Xiqing did not speak. He took her hand and was about to walk to the cable car station. "Let's go eat." "Hey, wait." The foreigner from earlier rushed over again with 2 pieces of paper in his hand. When he arrived in front of them, he was already panting. "My wife likes these 2 pieces of paper, so I washed them first to give them to you. Here, take them." Su Qianxi took it, and the depression in her heart was gone. In the first photo, a man and a woman were on a parachute. The woman's ponytail was fluttering in the wind, looking a little messy. From the angle of the photo, one could only see the woman's long and thick eyelashes and a small portion of her fair face. The man's face was slightly slanted, his facial features perfect. His eyes were closed, but there was an indescribable sense of gentleness. Was this really Li Xiqing? He actually had such a side to him? What made her feel like she was in a dream was that the person he was facing was actually herself. Chapter 190. The other photo was also in the air, but the angle had been completely changed. In the photo she was looking at him in shock. From this angle they could see each other's eyelashes, lips and nose, blocking her from the view. Only her blushing face could be seen. What should she do? She felt like she was going to heaven. Staring at the photo, Su Qianxi's smile gradually widened. Her face was blushing and her eyebrows were brimming with happiness. Do you like it? Yes. She liked both of them very, very much. They were not only two photos, but also a dream that she had had for 2 lifetimes. Now, the dream had finally come true. She did not notice the smile on Li Xiqing's face. He said, "If you like it, then kiss me a few more times." Su Qianxi heard that and immediately looked up. Seeing the people around her, she quickly ran away. Li Xiqing's smile widened and he reached out to her. "Let's go eat." However, Su Qianxi stared at his lips, a bit dazed. He was smiling. She rubbed her eyes, thinking she had seen it wrong. However, when she calmed down, it was still the same smile. Seeming to have noticed her attention, Li Xiqing's smile suddenly disappeared. He pretended to be unhappy and asked, "What's wrong? You look so good when you smile. Smile again." The remaining smile on Li Xiqing's face completely disappeared, and he was speechless. "Smile again. You look so good when you smile. What a waste." Li Xiqing didn't know what to say and walked forward. Su Qianxi quickly caught up with him, going from his left to his right. "I haven't seen enough yet." Li Xiqing was speechless. Going from his right to his left, she begged, "Mr. Li Xiqing, honey?" Li Xiqing finally could not bear it anymore. He pulled her over and held her in his arms, whispering, "Be quiet." She wanted him to smile and he would smile just because she wanted him to? You have to know that smiling also requires feeling. Su Qianxi was suddenly hugged, so she immediately shut up. She struggled but could not move. Li Xiqing looked down at her and took her to the cable car station. The skydiving location was some distance away from the bottom of the island. There was a cable car that could reach the bottom of the island. On the cable car, Su Qianxi was let go of. She carefully put the 2 photos in her hand into her pocket. After making sure that they were safe, she looked out the window. In the Maldives it was like spring all year round. It was said that the surrounding scenery was the same all year round and would never change much. The azure blue ocean below was connected to a large green area. Seagulls spread their wings and flew high. The pedestrians below were like ants. Su Qianxi was almost leaning against the window, looking down at everything. When the cable car was almost at the station, she reluctantly looked away. But when she turned around, she was caught off guard to find that the man was looking at her from the side. His deep, pitch-black eyes were unwavering. His heartbeat suddenly began to accelerate. Had he been watching her all this time? In his mind, he suddenly thought of a sentence from Broken Chapter. You stand on the bridge and look at the scenery, but the person who is looking at the scenery is looking at you from above? But could she have also decorated his dream? Wan Lily, some readers say that you are too sweet, so I plan to torture you. What do you want to say? Li Xiqing, why don't you try? Wan Lily, lost in thought. Broken Chapter by Bian Jilin. You look at the scenery on the bridge, the person who is looking at you from above the moon decorates your window. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.